Chapter 88. Where was Lin Feng? Others might not know, but Black Snake was very clear. But so what if he knew? A sea of fire was the difference between heaven and earth. Hide. Let's see how long you can hide. Black Snake's eyes flashed coldly. He waved the sword in his right hand fiercely, and a sharp chi suddenly sprayed out. Pa, pa, pa. Sand and stones flew, and the strong chi was enough to split mountains and split the earth. It was extremely powerful. The day you come out is the day you die. Black Snake's voice was bone-chilling. Bang, bang. The primordial fire burned fiercely in Lin Feng's hand, and the orange luster shone with a bright color. That's right, it was orange. It was a bright red to the extreme orange color. Hiss, hiss, the fireball kept condensing, and the faint orange color gradually deepened. Powerful energy poured out, and the increase in power caused the fireball to expand. Lin Feng's forehead was sweating, and it was extremely strenuous. It's about time. Lin Feng's eyes shone brightly. This was a new trick that he had learned in the past month. He had stolen it from the giant python. The more primordial fire gathered, the stronger it was, and the more powerful it was. As long as there was enough time and enough control over the primordial fire, the power of the fireball could continuously increase. But at the same time, its speed would decrease. For other firefighters, this might be a rather useless technique. After all, if the speed slowed down, what was the use of having a strong power? But Lin Feng was an exception. Big guy, it's your turn. Looking into the distance, Lin Feng immediately revealed a relaxed smile. What he saw was a huge black bear that was at least 300 meters tall. Its entire body was covered in pitch black, steel-like fur. Upon closer inspection, one would see that it was covered in a thin layer of red scales. Its lower limbs were like two black pillars that reached the sky. The most eye-catching part of the black bear was its eyes, crystal blue like crystals. This was a fire spirit beast mutated from the blue-eyed violent bear. Whoosh! Bending down and speeding, the cloud shuttle flashed across. Standing indifferently on the cloud shuttle, the fireball in his right hand sparkled with orange light. Lin Feng approached the blue-eyed violent bear at an extremely fast speed. Howl, hiss, hiss. The blue-eyed violent bear roared fiercely. It suddenly discovered that the orange fireball in Lin Feng's right hand was sparkling with a cold light. Feeling the powerful energy, the blue-eyed violent bear was a little afraid. At that moment, its huge body suddenly tilted and violently pounced towards Lin Feng. Whoosh! A strong wind blew, and a black light suddenly appeared. The blue-eyed violent bear was extremely fast. Its black paws fully displayed the strength of a mid-level giant beast lord. Upon closer inspection, the bear paw was actually flickering with a faint light, as if it was being burned by a raging fire. It actually had the same effect as a fire martial artist. With Lin Feng's speed, there was no way he could dodge this bear paw. However, in a split second, Lin Feng's pupils shone brightly like giant black holes. The blue-eyed violent bear immediately froze in place. It only paused for a moment before an orange fireball appeared in front of its eyes, shooting straight towards its throat. Boom! A violent explosion rang out. The orange light shot out in all directions, turning into a violent flame that completely exploded. Flesh and blood flew everywhere. The blue-eyed violent bear's vital point was completely hit. Its entire body felt as if it was being burned. A tragic howl of pain rang out, shaking one's heart. Bright red blood poured down like a waterfall. Rumble, like an earthquake. The 300-meter-tall, blue-eyed violent bear fell to the ground with a thud. Its blue, crystal-like eyes were wide open, revealing a sense of sadness. It died with its eyes wide open. Lin Feng's mouth curved upwards. His eyes were shining brightly. His pale face carried a hint of exhaustion, but he was very satisfied. The direct attack of energy had already become his trump card. As his strength continued to increase, the amount of energy also continued to increase. The current him could completely intimidate a mid-level giant beast lord without overdrawing his energy. Although it might only be for a short moment. But it was enough. Combined with the biggest fireball attack, it was always successful. Dangerous? It was indeed dangerous. If he was not careful, he would die under the bear's paw. But risk and opportunity always coexisted. A mid-level giant beast lord's fire spirit pill is at least a grade 6, usually grade 5. Muttering to himself, Lin Feng had already skillfully cut open the blue-eyed violent bear's abdomen and took out the fire spirit pill. However, his expression was slightly disappointed. Crow's beak. It really is a grade 6 fire spirit pill. Lin Feng laughed lightly. Then, he placed the fire spirit pill into the space within the fluorescent compass. But it doesn't matter. Anyway, there's still 3 mid-level giant beast lords. I believe I won't be that unlucky. Lin Feng nodded and went to collect the other materials. No matter how small a mosquito was, it was still meat. How would he waste it? Moreover, this was a mid-level giant beast lord. Any random scale could be worth tens of thousands of Tianwu coins. 2 days later, finally, all 5 mid-level giant beast lords have been dealt with. Lin Feng stretched lazily. That feeling was as if he had completed something he had always wanted to complete, but could not. His whole body felt comfortable. 1 grade 6 fire spirit pill, 3 grade 5 fire spirit pills, and 1 more. Lin Feng smiled. Grade 4 fire spirit pill. How much was it worth? Lin Feng himself was not clear. However, it was clear that it was an astronomical figure. To buy Dragon Eye medicine, more than enough. Ayun, wait for me to return. Lin Feng nodded. In the first month here, I broke through to mid-level Martial Grandmaster. Now, I should have just barely reached the advanced Martial Grandmaster standard. It's about time. Lin Feng's eyes shone with a faint light. His killing intent was cold. During these past 3 months, he'd always firmly remembered those 2 fatal pursuits. Every single time, it was in the danger region that forced him into a hopeless situation, and he had a slim chance of survival. Now it was time for revenge. But before that, Lin Feng muttered. In his mind, an image appeared. Lin Feng's eyes shone with curiosity. That flying dragon monster. Just by looking at it from afar, Lin Feng could feel a wave of shock from the bottom of his heart. The 1,000-meter-tall figure seemed to cover the entire sky. At this moment, it was taking a nap beside the giant tree, resting quietly. Lin Feng vaguely remembered that a month ago, he had fled in a hurry and was battered and exhausted. This flying dragon monster was indeed terrifying. It was not something he could fight against. However, his speed was not inferior to its. Otherwise, he would not have been able to escape successfully last time. Now, his strength had increased again. His speed had also increased. My strength is now that of an advanced Martial Grandmaster. When using the Cloud Shuttle, my speed is comparable to that of an advanced Emperor Wu. And the speed of an advanced giant beast leader is only comparable to that of a mid-level Emperor Wu. Let's give it a try. Lin Feng immediately made a decision. Nothing ventured, nothing gained. Moreover, his goal was not to kill that flying dragon monster. There was a big chance. A ball of flame suddenly appeared in his right hand. In an instant, it condensed into a fireball. The Cloud Shuttle whizzed towards the flying dragon monster. Suddenly, as if it had sensed something, the flying dragon monster opened its eyes. It emitted a bright light, as if it had been woken up by someone. It was incomparably angry. Now, Lin Feng's eyes shone brightly. The fireball in his hand streaked across the sky like a shooting star. The orange light directly attacked the flying dragon monster. Its speed was very fast. However, the flying dragon monster roared furiously. A ball of orange flame was immediately spat out from its mouth. The color was even darker and heavier. Boom! Lin Feng's fireball was immediately drowned. At this moment, the second and third fireballs arrived in an instant. Boom! Boom! The attacks were like waves, wave after wave. The flying dragon monster, which had just been disturbed from its dream, was extremely angry. Its scorching aura suddenly spurted out. Its huge wings blew up a violent wind. In an instant, the sky was filled with flames. Walala, the sky seemed to be enveloped by the flames. It was burning with the color of flames. the flying dragon monster sword. Its huge figure gave off an oppressive aura. The sky was filled with its aura, and its target was Lin Feng. In an instant, Lin Feng's expression changed. However, it was not fear. "I was afraid that you wouldn't come." Lin Feng smiled indifferently. He controlled the cloud shuttle as if it was a part of his body. He turned around lightly. Escape. Fight with this flying dragon monster head-on? Even 10 lives wouldn't be enough. Whoosh! Lin Feng increased the speed of the cloud shuttle to the maximum. His vision was hazy. Although he couldn't see clearly, Lin Feng remembered it deeply in his mind. The terrifying sound of the wind behind his ear, as well as the strong stench, Lin Feng knew without turning back. It was chasing after him. As expected, its speed is slower than mine. Lin Feng's eyes shone brightly. The first step was a complete success. Papa! 2 clusters of primordial fire burned in his hands, turning into fireballs. Lin Feng even had the energy to provoke it again. Boom! The fireballs flew backwards rapidly. In an instant, Lin Feng heard another furious roar. It went smoothly. Although the flying dragon monster roared and used all its strength, the distance between it and Lin Feng didn't decrease at all. Instead, it kept increasing. Feeling the aura behind him getting weaker and weaker, and lightly smelling the stench that was slowly fading away, Lin Feng's lips curled into a smile. The time had come. Hua! The cloud shuttle made a quick turn, drawing a beautiful semicircle, returning to the original spot. Close. It's about there. Lin Feng closed his eyes, but there seemed to be a map in his mind. It was incomparably clear. Very quickly, Pa. The cloud shuttle instantly slowed down. Lin Feng also stopped. What appeared in front of him was a huge tree so tall that he couldn't see the top. The tree trunk was several hundred meters wide, majestic and imposing, like a king, high up in the sky. And the most important thing was that this huge tree no longer had the protection of the flying dragon monster, luring the tiger away from the mountain. Looking for recommendation votes, carrot. Chapter 89. This giant tree was at least 3rd grade. In other words, as long as no one picked it, there must be a spirit fruit on the tree. Believing in this, Lin Feng was willing to take such a big risk to lure the tiger away from the mountain. Opportunity and risk coexist. His eyes completely focused, stepping on the cloud shuttle and circling the giant tree. Lin Feng carefully searched, not letting go of a single spot. 2 seconds. 3 seconds. Behind him, Lin Feng could faintly feel that the terrifying aura was approaching again. Clenching his teeth, sweat seeped out his back. Lin Feng suddenly felt urgent, his expression constantly changing. There was only one chance. Where? Where? It's impossible that there isn't one. Lin Feng's heart gradually sped up. Blood seemed to flow to the top of his throat. Roar! The wyvern monster's roar fiercely sounded. Giant beast horde leaders already had intelligence, let alone a high-level giant beast horde leader. At this time, how could it not understand what this tiny human in front of it was planning? To steal its treasure. Damn it! There really isn't one? Lin Feng was burning with anxiety. Just as he felt his hopes dashed, Lin Feng's eyes faintly saw a faint light, joy instantly filling his heart. Over there, rapidly rushing towards that light, Lin Feng didn't even see whether it was a spirit fruit or not. Grabbing it and throwing it into the fluorescent compass, he didn't dare to stay for a moment longer. Even running away, if he didn't leave now, he really would lose his life. His back seemed to be on fire, his body trembling. The heavy breathing of the wyvern monster seemed to ring in his ears, scaring Lin Feng into cold sweat. Suddenly changing his direction, he rapidly sprinted, all the primordial fire in his body surging out. The cloud shuttle suddenly exploded with the fastest speed possible, truly pulling chestnuts out of the fire. Ha ha! Lin Feng laughed to his heart's content. After circling around the valley, he finally got rid of the flying dragon monster whose eyes were about to pop out of their sockets. That wyvern monster seemed to have gone crazy. Even now, He could still hear the heart-wrenching roar in the distance, shaking the sky. Wasn't it just stealing a spirit fruit? Was there a need to act like this? With a faint smile on his face, Lin Feng took out the spirit fruit from the fluorescent compass. Suddenly, he froze. This! Lin Feng's expression changed drastically. The corner of his mouth twitched slightly. At this moment, he finally understood why the wyvern was so furious. What he stole was not a spiritual fruit, but an egg. As far as his eyes could see, it was a rather beautiful egg with a tinge of red within the white. It was rich with a dense aura of life. It was just enough for one hand to hold it up, and it was quite heavy. It can't be, right? Lin Feng smiled bitterly. What he wanted was the spirit fruit, but he had somehow stolen an egg. Clearly, with how much the wyvern valued this egg, it was obvious that this egg was its should I return it? Exchanging spirit fruits with that flying dragon? As Lin Feng thought of this, he smiled. However, he was dreaming too much. It was more likely that he would be torn to pieces by that wyvern monster. Forget it, it's fated. Lin Feng put away the egg and muttered, "It's better than nothing." After saying this, he left on the shuttle. Actually, Lin Feng didn't know that the spirit fruit on the giant tree had already been picked. He didn't know if he was lucky or if the wyvern monster was unlucky. What he lost on the swings, he gained on the swings. This wyvern monster's egg was not ordinary. In terms of value, it might even be better than the spirit fruit on the giant tree. This place is indeed a holy land for cultivation. Lin Feng looked around indifferently. He had been cultivating here for almost 3 months. From a beginner martial grandmaster to an advanced martial grandmaster, this speed, it was shockingly terrifying. It must be known that every time a martial artist advanced a level, the difficulty would increase by several times, or even 10 times. Especially for a martial grandmaster, it was much harder than a martial warrior. Otherwise, there wouldn't be so many martial grandmasters in Cloud Sun City, and Emperor Wu's level was so rare. However, in this place, Lin Feng advanced from a beginner martial grandmaster to an intermediate martial grandmaster. The speed was even faster than when he advanced from an advanced martial grandmaster to a beginner martial grandmaster. One's talent was important, but the cultivation environment was equally important. Have you been waiting for a long time? Lin Feng's eyes brightened as he stood calmly above the sea of fire. The current him was no longer the same him from 3 months ago. His strength had undergone an earth-shattering change, and his confidence had also increased. Opening the fluorescent compass, Lin Feng's expression was calm as he watched the fluorescent compass light up. Suddenly, the countless sounds mixed together, forming an ear-piercing noise. Lin Feng's expression instantly changed. Just by listening to the sound, there were more than 100 calls. Who was it that was calling him so urgently? How many people could know his communication information? The answer was obvious. Oh no, he faintly had a bad feeling in his heart. Lin Feng hurriedly flipped through the list and saw familiar names appear one by one. Sister Qian, Brother Niu, Qin Ro. In an instant, Lin Feng was completely stunned. Brother Lin Yun calling 180 times. Sister Lin Shui calling 425 times. Oh no! Lin Feng's expression changed greatly. In less than 90 days, in other words, his brother had called him twice a day, and his sister had called him no less than 5 times a day. This was not because she was worried about his safety, but because something big had happened at home. At this moment, Lin Feng's gaze was fixed on the fluorescent compass. A familiar small dot was rapidly approaching him. You finally came out, huh? Looks like you were chased out by the fire god. Black Snake's gloating expression was cold and murderous. His eyes flashed fiercely as he stepped on a spinning disc and flew rapidly. Although it was only the lowest level of flying treasure and could only display the speed of a martial artist, but it was enough. Let's see where you can escape to this time. Black Snake snorted coldly. Since the second time they had fought, he had realized that Lin Feng's speed was much slower than his. If he did not have a flying treasure, how could he escape? However, I have to be careful. This time, I must not look into his eyes. Black Snake's heart trembled. It was still fresh in his memory. Sure enough, Lin Feng's expression was calm. Standing on the cloud shuttle calmly, Lin Feng was fully equipped with the red snake gloves, the bright fire ring, and the blazing copper wrist guard. 2 clusters of primordial fire appeared in Lin Feng's hands. The orange light was like a trembling flame, emitting a scorching heat. He was already prepared for battle. It's been 3 months. Looks like you've been waiting for a long time. Lin Feng smiled indifferently. Suddenly, his expression turned cold. But I'm not the same. A debt of blood must be repaid with blood. Die. Black Snake had already seen Lin Feng's face, the face that was still fresh in his memory. Clang! The battle saber was unsheathed, gleaming with cold light. However, a scorching flame suddenly appeared in front of him. Black Snake opened his eyes wide and was shocked. His body swayed and the flying disc tilted. It took him a lot of effort to avoid the fireball. The heat wave that hit him in the face made Black Snake scared out of his wits. His body felt like it was burning. He knows how to use fireballs? Black Snake was shocked. However, there was no time for him to think. Another fireball was in front of him. Xiao! The cloud shuttle sped forward. The orange flames in Lin Feng's hands formed into fireballs. Like shooting stars, they flew toward Black Snake in a flash. How could he give him any chance? In the air, Black Snake was like a clown. He kept dodging the violent fireballs. He didn't dare to resist the heat. At first, he could still dodge, but later, it became more difficult. The speed of the fireballs became faster and more frequent. Most importantly, while controlling the flying disc, he couldn't use the advantage of his body movement. Boom! The orange fireball seemed to be right in front of him. Black Snake lowered his head. The scorching flame brushed past his scalp and burned a bunch of his hair. In an instant, the fireball appeared again. Black Snake's body turned around with great difficulty. Chi! The scorching flame brushed past the titanium energy suit and made a crackling sound. Impossible! How can he be so fast? Black Snake was shocked. He glanced over and was scared out of his wits. Not far away, Lin Feng, who was originally far away, was now right in front of him. Unknowingly, it's time to end this. Lin Feng's expression was indifferent. 2 flames appeared. The orange fireball flew toward Black Snake at an almost impeccable angle. Black Snake, who was already in a passive position, didn't even have room to dodge this time. He protected his head with both hands. In an instant, the fireball flew straight toward his titanium energy suit. Bang! Bang! It exploded with a loud bang. The flame spread. Black Snake felt a violent shock in his chest. It was as if a big hole had been broken in his titanium energy suit. Impossible! My defense is 1,500 titanium. How could he break through my defense? Black Snake was so shocked that his teeth were bleeding. At this moment, the second wave of fireballs came. Boom! Rumble, the overwhelming attack made Black Snake fly backward like a kite with a broken string. Although the titanium energy suit could barely withstand the power of the fireballs, it couldn't dissipate the strong impact. Black Snake's head was buzzing. His expression was full of disbelief. He, the hunter, had become the prey. Bang! 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 Stepping on the cloud shuttle, Lin Feng's fireballs didn't stop. It was like a meteor shower. Die! One after another, fireballs exploded on Black Snake's body. Lin Feng's eyes were filled with coldness. It was as if he wanted to completely vent the hatred from being hunted twice. His attacks didn't stop until the titanium energy suit was completely destroyed. If you come 1 foot closer, I'll come 10 feet closer. Bang! Bang! Orange flames filled the sky. Lin Feng finally stopped his attacks. His gaze was fixed on Black Snake, whose body was being burned by the primordial fire. There was no pity in his eyes. He deserved to die. Warriors, in terms of defense, were inferior to magical beasts of the same level. Lin Feng could even kill a mid-level horde leader, let alone a mere mid-level Emperor Wu. 3 months ago, I was like a drowning dog. Lin Feng sneered. And now, Lin Feng clenched his fists. It was easy for him to kill a mid-level Emperor Wu. He didn't even need to use his energy to attack. His right hand grabbed the flying disc. Stepping on the cloud shuttle, Lin Feng turned into a stream of light and disappeared in the sky. I'll forcefully promote it next week. Please recommend me carrot carrot. Chapter 90. In a luxurious mansion in Firmament City, Lin Shuai and Lin Yun were talking to a man with a crew cut. Beside them stood more than 10 fierce-looking guards. Clearly, this man was quite powerful. Brother Sun, this 4,800 Tianwu coins is all we have, said Lin Yun. That's right. Brother Sun, I beg you to give us a way out. We were also cheated. Shuai bit her lips. What does it have to do with me that you were cheated? The man with the crew cut suddenly spat. His face immediately turned cold. It's not that I didn't give you a chance. I gave you a whole month. Anyway, you can steal or rob the 15,000 Tianwu coins. Today I must get it. Otherwise, Sun Li's eyes turned cold and sharp. Humph, don't blame me for being impolite. Brother Sun, I beg you, give us a little more time. Shuai was so anxious that tears started to fall. Bah, give you time? Who gives me time? Sun Li frowned and said angrily, You're the one who signed the contract. You're also the one who took the goods, but didn't pay. Who's going to pay for my losses? But 10 times the compensation. Isn't that too much? Shuai lowered her head and said softly. Sun Li's eyes turned cold. He raised his hand, slap. A loud slap left a bright red palm print on Lin Shuai's delicate face. Lin Shuai was in pain. Her tears fell uncontrollably. Sister, Lin Yun's face changed greatly. Little girl, watch your mouth. Don't overestimate yourself. Sun Li snorted coldly. Disdain flashed across his face. No one forced you to sign the contract. Since you signed it, you have to carry it out. Even if you go to the arbitration center, the result will be the same. Lin Yun clenched his teeth. Brother Sun, let's not beat around the bush. You and I know what happened. I'll give you another 2,000 Tianwu coins in 3 days. Let's just forget about it, okay? Clear my ass. Sun Li's eyes widened. He stood up and jabbed his finger at Lin Yun's chest. He said sternly, Brat, don't talk nonsense here. Who do you think you are? Let me tell you, 15,000 Tianwu coins, not a single coin less. Pushing Sun Li's fingers away, Lin Yun said in a deep voice, Brother Sun, if this matter gets out of hand, it won't do anyone any good. My big brother, Lin Feng, should be back soon. Pung. The heavy punch directly landed on Lin Yun's lower abdomen. Fresh blood violently spurted out as the thin and weak body was sent flying. Big brother. Shuai's beautiful face turned pale, and she was terrified. Sun Li looked coldly at Lin Yun and pointed his right index finger. Let me tell you, I'm not scared. Your big brother? Your big brother's corpse is already cold. Also, let me remind you that my father is one of the Vice Hall Masters of the Martial Hall under the Firmament Sun Martial Sect. Your big brother is. He also has to pay me 15,000 Tianwu coins. Sun Li's face was arrogant and disdainful. Then, he waved his hand and said coldly, Beat him. No, don't. Shuai screamed hysterically. Big brother, I'm sorry. Shuai's tears kept falling. Silly sister. Lin Yun weakly straightened his body and wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. Why are you two siblings apologizing? It's all Shuai's fault. If I had listened to you back then, things wouldn't have turned out like this. Shuai choked with sobs. Forget it. It's already happened. Lin Yun shook his head and coughed lightly. What we should do now is to think of a way to solve this matter. I've checked that Sun Li is famous for being a bully. We can't afford to offend him now. But 15,000 Tianwu coins, where can we find so much money? Shuai was at a loss. There's always a way out. Let's think of another way. Lin Yun sighed. If only Big Brother was here. Shuai pursed her lips. All along, it was Big Brother Lin Feng who took care of the family. Without Lin Feng taking care of the family, how could they have the good days they had now? They had long been used to relying on him. Lin Yun's eyes also showed longing. Compared to Shuai's dependence, he was more worried. The two brothers were of the same mind. Big Brother valued his family the most. It was impossible that he hadn't heard from him for the past 3 months. It was very likely that there was trouble. Big brother, please don't let anything happen to you. Lin Yun kept praying in his heart. At this moment, beep, beep, the communication device suddenly rang. Lin Yun and Lin Shui couldn't help looking over and saw a very familiar name appear. In an instant, both pairs of eyes lit up and the expression on their faces changed instantly. 4 eyes met, full of surprise and excitement. It was Big Brother. Ruins of inner layer. Whoosh! A strong wind swept past like a meteor. A 5-star martial artist team was resting. When they looked up, they didn't see anything. Just now a martial artist flew past. Don't joke, Captain. How could a martial artist fly? Could it be a beast riot? The martial artist team's expression changed instantly. Lin Feng didn't know that his unintentional action scared a 5-star martial artist team so much that they ran away in panic. At this time, his whole body seemed to be covered with a layer of cold fog. His eyes were sharp and terrifying. The aura that faintly revealed was enough to scare ordinary martial artists half to death. Yun, Shui wait for me. Lin Feng's voice seemed to come from his bones. Hearing his brother Lin Yun's weak voice and his sister Shui's sobbing, Lin Feng's heart seemed to be twisted into a ball. It was all his fault. His fiery red hands were emitting scorching heat. Lin Feng's eyes were bloodshot. He had narrowly escaped death several times, but he had never been so angry. He couldn't control his emotions at all. Sizzle, sizzle. Lin Feng's body faintly emitted a fiery glow. The elemental fire in his hands was boiling. The intense orange color gathered the endless hatred in his heart. Rumble, the fireball shot directly toward the ruins of Like a meteorite falling from the sky, a terrifying force erupted in an instant and blasted the huge metal ruins into smithereens. A huge cloud of fire appeared in the sky. The terrifying roar shook the heavens and the earth. Lin Feng was beyond angry. Suddenly, no matter who you are, I will make you regret everything you have done. Definitely. His venting roar reverberated in the ruins of Lin Feng disappeared into the sky in an instant. At this time, the 5-star martial artist team stared at the blazing flames with their eyes wide open. They were already dumbstruck with fear. Oh my God, what a terrifying force. It's a fire spiritual beast, a horde leader-level fire spiritual beast. Captain, the beasts are rioting. Let's run. It took Lin Feng a lot of time to get here, but it only took him less than 2 hours to get back. What amazing speed. He stepped into the hunter camp. Because of the chaos caused by the beasts, there were very few people. Even the peddlers were listless. Lin Feng had already put away the cloud shuttle. Although his heart was filled with anger, he didn't lose his mind. He knew what could be exposed and what couldn't. He walked quickly. In the blink of an eye, he arrived at the teleportation portal. In front of him, a hunter team was lining up to use it. Lin Feng's eyes flashed coldly. Get out of the way, he shouted coldly. That small group of hunters instantly turned around. The eyes of the burly man in the lead bulged out, and the scar on his face lightly trembled. He was just about to say something when he suddenly caught a glimpse of Lin Feng's pitch-black eyes that were like the devil's, and they emitted a wisp of soul-stealing cold light. His mind was blown, and the depths of his heart abruptly trembled violently. I said, get out of the way. Lin Feng's killing intent surged. Yes, yes, senior. The burly leader's mouth twitched. He stuttered and revealed a flattering smile. Then, he carefully retreated to the side with his team members. Standing on the teleportation portal, Lin Feng quickly found the teleportation portal of the Firmament Sun martial sect. Suddenly, a white light flashed. Boss, who was that person just now? How would I know? The burly leader recalled the pair of black hole-like eyes and felt a chill in his heart. Anyway, he is not someone we can offend. He can kill us with just one look. There are so many experts in the Tianwu continent. You have to be discerning. Okay? Yes, boss. Firmament Sun martial sect, teleportation portal. Lin Feng calmly stepped forward. The cold, killing intent mixed with the bloody smell of the demonic beasts made people unable to get close. "I'm back." Lin Feng was secretly shocked. Returning to the Firmament's Sun Martial sect, he felt completely different. Looking at the martial grandmasters around him, he didn't have any emotional fluctuations. That feeling was as if he was looking at someone he used to look up to, but now he was no different from an ordinary person. Things were different now. Clenching his fists, Lin Feng stepped out of the door and calmly breathed in the free and fresh air. "Ayun, Shu-er, Big Brother is here. No one can bully you anymore." Lin Feng's eyes shone brightly. "Absolutely." Soon, Lin Feng arrived at the meeting place. From afar, Lin Feng saw his sister's expectant face. Her eyes were red. His brother looked so tired and haggard. His pale face was mixed with bruises. It was obvious that he had just been injured and was beaten up. Clenching his fists, Lin Feng's nails dug deep into his flesh. He felt as if his heart was broken. Lin Feng bit his lip until it bled. He allowed a long breath. His breathing gradually became stable, but he suppressed the burning anger in his heart. "Brother." Seeing that familiar face, Shu-er's tears fell like rain, and she rushed over. Hearing his sister's voice, Lin Yun's tense face finally relaxed, as if a heavy burden had been lifted from his shoulders. His big brother was back. He didn't need to worry anymore. Since young, with his big brother around, there was nothing that couldn't be solved. Everything would be better. "I wish everyone a happy new year. Please recommend me carrot. Chapter 91. "Brother, aren't you going too far?" Her voice was filled with apprehension and hesitation. The one who spoke was a young girl. She had a youthful face and large eyes. She was Shu's best friend, Sun Xiaowen. "What are you afraid of? What kind of background do those two poor siblings have? Isn't it just a junior martial grandmaster?" Sun Li laughed out loud. "I'm afraid they have already been killed by Lin Xianglong. Their bones have already been eaten by the demonic beasts. Moreover, the contract is written in black and white. They can't break it even if they want to. But Shu-er is already very miserable. Brother, can you let them live?" Sun Xiaowen lowered her head and said, "Let them live?" "Sure." Sun Li laughed heartily and said arrogantly, "Let that little girl come over and serve me well. When I'm in a good mood, maybe I will be lenient and let that damned crippled family have some food to eat." "Ha ha ha." Just as they were talking, suddenly, bang, there was a violent explosion. Sun Li's laughter stopped abruptly. Sun Xiaowen also looked at the door in shock. Wood shavings flew everywhere. Smoke and dust rose. A terrifying aura filled the entire mansion. The surrounding guards' expressions changed instantly. They looked over in shock and saw a calm figure slowly appear. His expression was filled with a strong, killing intent. Lin Feng had arrived. His gaze swept across everyone in the house. Lin Feng stared at Sun Li and said coldly, "You are Sun Li? Who are you?" Sun Li frowned deeply. He looked at the door and said angrily, "What is going on? Where are the guards on duty? How could they let someone in so casually?" "They're all dead." Lin Feng spat out two words with a calm expression. Indeed, they were all completely dead. In an instant, the expressions of everyone in the room changed, especially Sun Li, whose face turned green and white. "Impossible." Sun Li's heart trembled as he said, "Among the 10 guards, the weakest one is a high-ranked martial warrior. The strongest one is a primary martial grandmaster." Sun Li shook his head fiercely and immediately shouted, "Stop trying to mislead people with your lies. Speak, who are you?" Lin Feng's lips curled into a cold smile. "Am I not the big brother you mentioned, whose bones had already been eaten by magical beasts?" With Lin Feng's current strength, no movement in the surroundings could escape his ears. Sun Li was shocked. He looked at Sun Xiaowen and saw his sister's pale face. He was shocked. "What are you trying to do?" Sun Li's voice was a bit shrill. He waved his hand and roared, "What are you all still standing here for? Quick, kill him for me." The stunned guards around him suddenly woke up and roared angrily. They mustered up their courage and attacked Lin Feng. But that kind of behavior is called. They were like moths to a flame. You're courting death. Lin Feng's eyes flashed. His body fiercely took a step forward. His right fist drew a strong wind as it blasted out. A miserable scream rang out as the guard's titanium energy suit was pierced through. At this moment, a gust of wind came from behind. However, Lin Feng did not dodge at all. A fist landed on his back with a bang, but he only felt a slight shock. In a split second, he turned around and punched out in one breath. Bang! One punch was enough. Sun Li was completely stunned. He only saw a series of afterimages. His 10 guard were like scarecrows. In the blink of an eye, they fell down one by one, turning into 10 cold corpses. The most terrifying thing was that this ordinary-looking young man in front of him did not even use a weapon. He was barehanded. Heavens, what kind of strength is this? Sun Li felt a chill run down his spine. Even his father couldn't do it. At this moment, his eyes were filled with fear. He regretted it. You don't come over. Sun Li's face was filled with shock. Even though he was a beginner martial grandmaster, but facing Lin Feng, he was like a mouse facing a cat. The difference in strength was too great. Looking at this cowardly bandit, Lin Feng's face was as cold as ice. He thought of the bruises on his brother's body and the red palm print on his sister's face. His heart felt like it was being cut by a knife. All of this was because of this person in front of him. You tricked my sister. I don't blame you. Lin Feng slowly stepped forward. His voice was like a calm lake. You despicably asked for compensation and tricked my family. I can still let you live. Lin Feng's tone suddenly changed when he saw the light that was faintly emitted from Sun Li's eyes. He gritted his teeth and said, However, you should never have bullied my family and let them suffer physical pain. Pa! A resounding slap sent Sun Li flying into the air. A beginner martial grandmaster was slapped in the face. He did not even see the person's movements clearly. Fresh blood splattered. Sun Li could only taste the blood in his mouth. A sharp pain instantly spread through his body. Da-da! With his teeth knocked out, Sun Li fell to the ground. He covered his mouth with his hand and looked at the fiend in front of him in horror. His heart was filled with fear. This slap is for my sister. Lin Feng coldly spat out a few words. Pa! A backhand slap. The speed of the slap was extremely fast. The wind from the slap was like lightning. It made Sun Li dizzy and confused. Pa! The third slap. It was like a thunderous roar. Many of Sun Li's teeth were knocked out. His face was covered in blood. He was paralyzed on the ground like a dead fish. However, Lin Feng had already held back. Lifting his right foot, Lin Feng looked at Sun Li coldly. Suddenly, he stomped down. With a kacha sound, Sun Li screamed. His right arm was completely broken. The pain pierced his heart and lungs. Before he could regain his senses, another kacha sound was heard. Sun Li's left arm was also completely broken. He howled in pain. Sun Li's eyes bulged. His face was so pale that he did not look human. This is for my brother. Lin Feng's face did not have the slightest bit of pity. A strong energy flashed through his fists. Bang! Bang! It landed on Sun Li's knee and completely shattered his leg bone. Sun Li was in so much pain that he wanted to die. His whole body twitched and blood-red tears flowed out of his eyes. This kind of torture was simply worse than death. I won't let you go. Even if I die, I will drag you down with me. Sun Li's hoarse voice vented his resentment. He had completely thrown caution to the wind. His resentment towards Lin Feng was extreme. He was so angry that he wanted to cut Lin Feng into pieces. But he had obviously forgotten one thing. Right now, his life did not belong to him. You won't have a chance. Lin Feng's expression was calm. Lin Feng's right hand grabbed Sun Li's throat. Like an eagle grabbing a chick, he lifted him up. Cold light shot out from Lin Feng's dark eyes. He had learned a lot from Lin Xianglong. Indulging in evil would only lead to bad consequences, especially for this kind of scum who had accumulated so much resentment. The only way was to kill him. Mercy was a sin. No. Facing the threat of death, Sun Li tried his best to break free. But was it possible? Kacha! A crisp sound rang out. The unpleasant duck voice could no longer be heard. Lin Feng loosened his grip and suddenly collapsed to the ground. His eyes were wide open, as if he had died with a grievance. His gaze swept across the entire room. Lin Feng looked at Sun Xiaowen, who had fainted long ago, with hesitation in his eyes. He remembered that she had always spoken good words for her family, but her conscience had not disappeared. She was not like those guards who helped the evildoers. She did not deserve to die. Count yourself lucky, Lin Feng murmured. I don't like to kill women. Shaking his head, Lin Feng immediately left the door. Brother, are you okay? Shuai asked worriedly. What can happen? Lin Feng smiled indifferently, gently stroking the red mark on his sister's face. He said with heartache, Does it still hurt? It doesn't hurt. Shuai chuckled. Seeing brother come back safely, it doesn't hurt anywhere. Lin Yin hesitated for a moment, but still asked, Brother, the matter has been resolved? Yes, Lin Feng responded without hesitation. This group of scum will never appear in front of us again. Lin Yin looked shocked. Brother, you can't be. They're all dead. Lin Feng nodded calmly. To him, trash like Sun Li could not be appeased, even if he died 100 or 1,000 times. Together with Lin Xianglong, they were plotting against his family from the inside. He deserved to die. Shuai covered her mouth in surprise, and Lin Yin bit his lip. Brother, Sun Li has a strong background. His father is the deputy hall master of the martial arts hall. Lin Feng smiled indifferently. So what? Lin Yin was taken aback, but he was choked by Lin Feng's words. For some reason, when he saw his big brother again, he vaguely felt that there was a great difference. That boldness, that confidence, humph, these bastards deserve to die. Shuai said angrily. Don't worry, I'll take care of it. Lin Feng patted Lin Yun's shoulder with a smile. Let's go, it's time to go home. Lin Yun nodded slowly and smiled. From his big brother's words, he could hear that the calmness was not fake or deliberate, but real. He was confident. By the way, brother, did we get the silver card back? Shuai asked anxiously. Silver card. Lin Feng raised his eyebrows slightly. Yes, there's 4,800 Tianwu coins in it. Second brother's money is all in it, Shuai said. 4,800 Tianwu coins? Lin Feng smiled and nodded. Let's go. To the current him, this was just a small amount of money that was as insignificant as dust. Brother, you really took it? Yes. Primitive Forest number 77. At this moment, the Flying Dragon Squad was overjoyed. Ha! The heavens haven't forsaken us. As expected, the result is not decided until the last moment. Wang Xianglong laughed loudly. Congratulations, Captain. We've struck it rich this time. The Rocket Squad definitely didn't expect that we would be able to pick up the corpse of a high-level beast general. Wang Xianglong's face showed an ecstatic smile. This place has just experienced a beast riot, and countless magical beasts have died. There must be many corpses left. After all, to many experts at the level of Emperor Wu, high-level beast generals are beneath them. As expected, Wang Xianglong clenched his fist tightly. Captain's prediction is amazing. This time, the Rocket Squad is doomed. With this Frost Tiger, our points will directly increase from 510 to more than 800. Wang Xianglong's eyes shone brightly. They can only blame themselves for being too careless. They thought that with 742 points, victory was in the bag. These 3 months, they didn't make any progress and didn't earn any points. Tomorrow is the end of the year. I want to see where they can go to increase their points in one day. I really feel sorry for that Lin Feng. TSK, 30,000 Tianwu coins. And piercing arrow Lu Qian. That girl still wants to enter the Scorching Sun sect. Tomorrow, I'm afraid her dream will be shattered. Wang Xianglong's face showed a confident smile. He waved his hand fiercely. Let's go back. Brothers, it's my treat today. Starting from 2 p.m., brothers and sisters, I hope you can continue to support Xiao Xiao. Thank you. Chapter 92. December 30th. This was the last day of the year. Every family was jubilant, decorated with lanterns and colored banners. It was very lively. Lin Feng's family was also boiling with joy. Everyone's face was filled with the word happy, but it was not to welcome the new year, but because Lin Feng came back. The pillar of the family had returned safely. In the last month, everyone did not say it, but in their hearts, they were very worried. "Dad, Mom, I made you worry," Lin Feng whispered. "Haha, Feng, we worried for nothing." Lin Wanqing cried with joy, and a pair of rough hands gently pressed Lin Feng's hands. "Have a good rest. Mom will cook something delicious. Wait a minute, it will be ready soon." Lin Wanqing gently wiped the tears on her face and walked into the kitchen with a smile. For an ordinary mother, being able to cook a meal for her son was her greatest satisfaction. "Dad," Lin Feng called softly, with a myriad of feelings in his heart. Staring at Lin Feng, Lin Xiaoyan's mouth gently raised, which was rare. "This trip, did you gain anything?" The indifferent words seemed to know everything. Lin Feng knew that he could not hide from his father's eyes. He nodded and said, "Yes, I gain a lot." The short 4 words included the joys and sorrows of the past 3 months. He, no matter in which aspect, really gained a lot. Warriors, without experiencing life and death, will never become the real strong. Lin Xiaoyan's voice was indifferent with sadness, and his muddled eyes seemed to have a little-known past. Lin Feng was shocked, staring at his disabled father sitting on a rattan chair. Lin Feng had thousands of words in his heart, but he could not say them. Lin Xianglong's words made him clearly understand that his father was not a simple mountain man. At that time, his father's legs were broken, his whole body was bloody, and his breath was weak. But even so, he still took him and his younger brother. "Dad!" Lin Feng bit his lips slightly. At this moment, he really wanted to know what kind of past it was and what kind of life experience he had. "Fenger!" Lin Xiaoyan's voice went straight into his ears. Lin Feng raised his head fiercely and saw his father's dark and bright eyes. Suddenly, his heart shook violently, as if he had fallen into an endless sea of blood. In front of his eyes, there were shadows of swords and sabers, and the sky was bloody. The shrill cry went straight to his heart. It was like hell. Lin Feng felt as if his blood was burning. Suddenly, a bright light flashed before his eyes. His consciousness returned, but Lin Feng's entire body was ice cold, and his spine was trembling. He had easily killed a mid-level giant beast lord and a mid-level Emperor Wu. For a moment, her heart had been unknowingly affected. Pride, however, his father had given him a fierce warning. "Thank you, father." Lin Feng lowered his head. "Don't ask. I will tell you when the time is right." Lin Xiaoyan looked indifferent, like a calm lake without any waves. "What you should do now is to continue to improve your strength. From tomorrow onwards, come and find me every morning." Lin Feng was startled and instantly showed a surprised smile. "Father, you want to teach me?" Lin Xiaoyan said non-committally, "Go and eat." "Okay." Lin Feng smiled and nodded. It had been a long time since the family had a happy meal together. The dining table was full of laughter and warmth. Even the maidservants were envious and secretly looked at Lin Feng. Although he couldn't be considered handsome, it was such an ordinary young man who supported a family with one hand. He was only 18 years old, but he had achieved so much. Who would not be tempted? "Brother, you don't know. Mother is very popular with the neighbors now." Shuai winked mischievously. "Mother, popular with the neighbors?" Lin Feng was stunned. Looking at his mother, Lin Feng was obviously a little confused. "It's all thanks to you, brother." Lin Yan smiled. The nourishing pool was really magical. After a short soak, Lin Yun's external injuries disappeared without a trace. "It has something to do with me?" Lin Feng was even more confused. Lin Wanqing smiled and said, "It's like this, Feng. Many young ladies from good families are interested in you and want to marry you." Lin Feng suddenly understood and could not help but smile awkwardly, daring to go around in a circle, circling around and circling back to him. "Brother, you are now highly valued by the sect master. You are young and promising. Many women in Xiaoyang City regard you as their dream lover." Shuai chuckled. Lin Feng smiled bitterly. "Good shit. Even you are joking with me. Shuer is not joking, brother. Lin Yin smiled. The Rocket Squad is now ranked first in the 4-star team rankings. Your reputation will naturally rise. After all, in Shaoyang City, Shaoyang martial sect status is supreme. But, brother, what plans do you have? I see. Lin Feng nodded. After all this time, it turned out to be the Rocket Squad's points. Looking at the crowd's gaze, even the surrounding maidservants pricked up their ears. Lin Feng gently shook his head. I have no plans. Instantly, a wave of disappointed voices resounded out as a beautiful violet figure appeared abruptly within Lin Feng's mind. That pair of exquisite large eyes seemed as if they could speak, and her face that didn't wear any makeup was like the rosy glow of the morning sun reflected on the snow. She was beautiful like a celestial maiden that was enchanting. But now is not the time to be in love. Lin Feng sighed softly. The beast uprising has already begun. In less than 2 years, it will reach the terrifying level of level 7. At that time, Tianwu continent is likely to be destroyed. Lin Feng frowned deeply, his eyes flashing. What he should do now was not to think about these messy things, but to become a titled martial god in the shortest time possible. Only with enough strength could he protect his family. Scorching Sun Sect. I've troubled you during this period, Great Elder. The man was dressed in the Scorching Sun Sect's martial uniform. He had a head of lean short hair, a thin forehead, and bright eyes. Although he was smiling faintly, there was a kind of imposing manner that struck fear in people's hearts. Sect leader, you're too kind. Fire God smiled slightly. His red hair and beard paired with his fiery red clothes made him look like a burning flame. In the Scorching Sun Sect, the strongest and most famous were Sect Leader Qi Yin and Great Elder Fire God. The Doomsday Plan set at the Round Table Conference must be carried out, Sect Leader Qi Yin said slowly with his hands behind his back. That's right. A beast riot of the 8th level is not something that can be stopped by humans. Fire God laughed softly. Even the Marshal's residents and the show, who have always been at odds with each other, put aside their former differences and set this doomsday plan together. Everyone is working hard for the survival of mankind. There's no need to trouble Great Elder with the following matters. Sect Leader Qi Yin nodded with a smile. Let's go back first. I haven't seen my little guys for a few months. I do miss them. Fire God smiled and stroked his beard. You're so weird. Sect Leader Qi Yin laughed involuntarily. Be careful. I'll kill all your fire spirit beasts one day. Let's see what you'll do then. Qi Yin, how dare you? Fire God glared and blew his beard. If you dare to touch my baby, I'll fight you to the death. Haha, don't be nervous. I'm just joking. Sect Leader Qi Yin laughed heartily. After dinner, Lin Feng immediately went to the Firmament Martial Sect through the teleportation array. At this time, the Firmament Martial Sect was already crowded with people. The hall on the first floor was tightly packed. Today was the busiest day in the Firmament Martial Sect. At midnight, the exchange of points for all martial artist teams would be closed. The sect leader would personally give out the rewards. This was not only a kind of glory, but also a very generous material reward. All the martial artist teams were looking forward to it, waiting with bated breath. The points ranking was only held once a year. There's so many people. It's not easy to find Sister Qian and Brother Niu. Lin Feng felt a headache coming on. After returning, he contacted the Fiery Arrow team. Although Brother Niu was blind in one eye, his body seemed to have almost recovered. However, his strength was still affected. Qinro was still as talkative as before. However, Lin Feng felt a sense of familiarity from her voice. As for Sister Qian, she seemed to have completely recovered from the death of Brother Hua. She was no longer as cold as before. All right, how could I forget about this? Lin Feng suddenly reacted. Turning on the fluorescent compass, Lin Feng couldn't help but smile when he saw a few familiar dots. However, a strange light flashed in his eyes, and he felt a pressure in his heart. Wang Hao, today is a good day. I'll let you live for another day. Lin Feng muttered indifferently. Soon after, he took a step forward and walked inside. After passing through a long corridor, Lin Feng soon arrived at a spacious square. The square was filled with people. Occasionally, he could see 5 or 6 martial artists sitting together, drinking and chatting. The atmosphere was very harmonious. It should be over there. Lin Feng glanced at the fluorescent compass. While he was walking, suddenly, "Junior brother!" A joyful voice came from behind. Lin Feng was slightly startled. He was wondering where he had heard this voice before. When he turned around, he saw a handsome face. He was wearing a silver martial artist's uniform and had a saber at his waist. Wasn't he Senior Brother Wu? Lin Feng nodded. Sandao Wu Kai, Qin Lai's disciple. He had met him twice, so his impression of him was not bad. Junior brother, long time no see. Wu Kai seemed to be in a good mood. Lin Feng replied with a smile. Congratulations, junior brother. The Fiery Arrow Squad will definitely take first place this time. The Flying Dragon Squad is 200 points behind you. As he spoke, Wu Kai couldn't help but blink. I heard that you had a bet with Wang Xianglong. 30,000 sky martial coins in your pocket. You really made others envious. Senior Brothers Blaze Squad is also ranked first among the 5-star squads, right? Lin Feng smiled slightly. Hee. Wu Kai rubbed his head. At this time, Lin Feng's gaze had already caught a glimpse of a few familiar figures in the distance. He said, Senior brother, if there's nothing else, I'll take my leave first. Seeing Wu Kai nod foolishly, Lin Feng immediately left. When Wu Kai saw his thin figure, he couldn't help but let out a soft sound. Junior brother, his aura seems different. Is it my misperception? Wu Kai muttered inexplicably. This is the first day of the promotion. Please click and recommend me. Thank you everyone, .. Chapter 93. Brother Nyo. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. The tall and sturdy figure in front of him was so familiar. It was him who brought him into the Fiery Arrow Squad. Lin Feng still remembered what Brother Nyo said to him when they first met. It's okay if you're weak. I'll take care of you. If you follow me in the future, who didn't start out as a newbie? All sorts of feelings welled up in his heart. He walked forward and hugged him tightly. Sometimes, there was no need to talk too much between men. Sister Qian, Qinro. Lin Feng greeted them with a smile. Really, Brother Lin Feng disappeared for 3 months without any news. Qinro twisted her nose and pretended to be angry. Aren't you the same? Lin Feng scolded with a smile. You came out of seclusion a month ago. Those who didn't know would think that something happened to you. He couldn't help but look at Qinro. As far as he knew, Qinro was usually quite lazy. It was difficult for her to settle down and cultivate. This time she changed her ways. Sit, Brother Lin Feng. Li Han smiled. Lin Feng nodded and sat down. Li Han blinked. You don't know, right? Young Miss is amazing this time. After 2 months of seclusion, she directly broke through the boundary and went to the Hunter organization to pass the warrior level certification. She became a beginner martial grandmaster. Oh, Lin Feng suddenly understood. He turned to look at Qinro. Seeing the little girl's amazing expression, he couldn't help but smile. Congratulations, Qinro. Lin Feng smiled. Thinking about it, although he was a member of the Hunter organization, he had never been there even once. He was really ashamed. He hadn't even gone through the warrior level certification once. I won't drag you down, Brother Lin Feng. Qinro nodded vigorously. Her small face was filled with determination. When Lu Qian and Li Han saw this, the two of them immediately smiled knowingly. And good luck, Lin Feng encouraged. Seeing Qinro's strength improve, he was also happy for her. Right, where's Wang Hao? Lin Feng asked casually. Something came up. Lu Qian smiled and shook her head. This brat is busy. Li Han had a look of disdain on his face. Ever since the rocket squad's accumulated points stabilized at the top, his fame has risen along with it. Together with Brother Lin, he was listed as one of the top 10 new stars with great potential. I wonder which rich young lady he's flirting with. One of the top 10 potential new stars. Lin Feng was stunned for a moment before bursting into laughter. It's just a false reputation. Lu Qian shook her head lightly and said, How can a true martial artist be tempted by fame and fortune and lose himself? Fortunately, Lindigo isn't that kind of person. Qin Rose smiled, her eyes shining with a different light. Just as they were talking, Lin Feng, I want to challenge you. Suddenly, there was a loud shout. Everyone was shocked. Lin Feng looked over and saw a handsome young swordsman pointing at him with a frown. He didn't know the person in front of him. What are you doing, Chimu? Qin Rose stood up and reprimanded him. Little sword devil, Chimu, ranked first among the top 10 potential new stars. He's a junior martial grandmaster. Lu Qian looked at Lin Feng meaningfully and added, he's been in love with Qin Rou for a long time. Lin Feng couldn't help but shake his head. It seemed that many things had happened in the past 3 months. However, what did it have to do with him that he loved Qin Rou? Roa, Chimu held the scabbard and looked at Qin Rou. You said that as long as I could defeat Lin Feng, you'll go on a date with me. As soon as he said this, the crowd was in an uproar. Qin Rou's little face was as red as a ripe apple. There's a good show to watch. Do you think that Lin Feng dares to accept the challenge? Are you kidding? Little Sword Devil is ranked first among the potential new stars. Lin Feng? He's only at the bottom of the list because of the rocket team. As the gossip entered his ears, Lin Feng suddenly realized that the little girl was using him as a shield. He didn't care, but Qin Rou had undoubtedly become the center of attention in front of everyone. If he didn't stand up, the little girl was afraid she would lose face. Lin Feng, stand up if you're man. Little Sword Devil, Qi Mu shouted. Looking at Lu Qian and Li Han's eyes, Lin Feng nodded lightly, indicating that they didn't need to worry. He then stood up. He was dressed in a loose martial attire. Compared to Little Sword Devil, Qi Mu's battle attire, he looked much more casual. Big brother Lin Feng. Qin Rou pursed her lips like a child who had done something wrong. It's okay. Lin Feng smiled and gently stroked Qin Rou's little head. Such an intimate action instantly made Qi Mu's eyes burn with anger. Lin Feng, Little Sword Devil, Qi Mu, was just about to open his mouth when he saw Lin Feng walking towards him. His right hand unconsciously moved to the hilt of his sword. His breathing was calm and steady. Lin Feng slowly walked towards Little Sword Devil, Qi Mu, with a faint smile on his face. Suddenly, both of his eyes emitted a brilliant light. His black pupils flickered with an astonishing aura. Little Sword Devil, Qi Mu, felt his head explode. As if he had fallen into a deep swamp, his body sank uncontrollably. Large drops of sweat seeped out of his body. What's going on? What's going on? Little Sword Devil, Qi Mu, was terrified. He couldn't control the fear in his heart. In an instant, Lin Feng, who was in front of him, was as terrifying as a demon. Plop! His legs went soft, and he fell to the ground. Little Sword Devil, Qi Mu, only felt an ice-cold sensation on his neck. He raised his head and saw Lin Feng looking down at him with a calm expression. The scabbard was pointed at his throat. The surroundings were silent. Everyone's gaze was focused on him. He actually sat on the ground, paralyzed. No, impossible. Looking at Lin Feng, Little Sword Devil, Qi Mu's face turned ghastly pale. At this moment, boom! The surroundings seemed to explode. Instantly, all the warriors' emotions exploded. Oh my God, what just happened? I don't know. Why did Little Sword Devil, Qi Mu, seem to be possessed? What do you know? That's his aura. TSK. This Lin Feng is really secretive. Let's go, Lin Feng said softly. He loosened his right hand, and the scabbard fell to the ground with a clang. It was a good day. He didn't want to spoil the atmosphere. Moreover, he didn't have any deep enmity with Little Sword Devil, Qi Mu. It was just Qi Mu's wishful thinking that he was his rival in love. Instantly, Little Sword Devil, Qi Mu, picked up his sword in a panic and fled in panic. Losing face was a small matter. Losing his life was a big matter. At this moment, he finally understood the inconspicuous young man in front of him was far from someone he could provoke. Oh my God, Big Brother Lin Feng, you're so powerful, Qin Rou said in surprise with stars in her eyes. You little monster, I can't see through you anymore. Ha! Li Han laughed heartily. LV Qian's beautiful eyes flickered as she stared at Lin Feng. It was as if she wanted to discover some secret from him. Lin Feng couldn't help but chuckle. It's nothing. I just improved a little in the past few months. If he explained too much, he would become arrogant. Everyone had their own secrets. No one would ask too much. Soon, everyone threw the little episode to the back of their minds and started chatting happily. After all, they hadn't seen each other for 3 to 4 months. Naturally, they had endless things to talk about. Especially with Qin Ro around, the atmosphere was filled with laughter and joy. Time passed slowly, 9 in the morning. There was only a short 15 minutes left before the end of the point calculation. Everyone was waiting anxiously. They stared at the 3 screens in the square. At this moment, the current points of the 4-star teams, 5-star teams, and 6-star teams were displayed. Among the 4-star teams, the fiery team was at the top. With 742 points, they were far ahead of the second place's 512. 5 points. I wonder how that egomaniac is feeling right now. Qin Ro covered her mouth and chuckled. What else could he be feeling? Li Han laughed. He was cheated of 30,000 Sky Marshal coins by that little monster for no reason. I reckon he won't even be able to pay for it with his entire year's earnings. Lin Feng smiled faintly, but didn't say anything. In fact, if Wang Xianglong hadn't deliberately provoked him that day, he wouldn't have been so heavy-handed. Although 30,000 Sky Marshal coins was a lot, to the current him, it was insignificant. There's still 15 minutes left. We can't make any conclusions yet. Lu Qian nodded lightly, her beautiful eyes shining brightly. Although she said that, no one was more excited than she was about the one and only 4-star teams to enter the Scorching Sun sect. Don't worry, sister. With a gap of more than 200 points, it's useless even if the Flying Dragon team can fly, Qin Ro said with a smile. In an instant, who said it's useless? A loud and confident voice rang out. Lin Feng looked back and saw the Flying Dragon team walking over, a faint smell of blood still lingering on their bodies. The Golden Eagle, Wang Xianglong, who was in the lead, raised his sword-like eyebrows with a confident expression. He glanced at the crowd and finally fixed his gaze on Lin Feng. Long time no see, Lin Feng. Wang Xianglong smiled. Lin Feng nodded as a greeting. The annoying guy is here again. Qin Ro snorted and said, Is he here to admit defeat? Don't even think about reneging on the 30,000 Sky Marshal coins. Reneging? Wang Xianglong suddenly smiled and looked back at the crowd. Instantly, the Flying Dragon team members held their stomachs and laughed. Lin Feng's eyes flashed, and Lu Qian frowned slightly. She faintly felt that something was wrong. Didn't Sister Qian say it just now? There's still 15 minutes before the real end. Wang Xianglong deliberately emphasized the last 2 words and pointed confidently at the light screen in the distance. In an instant, the square boiled with a huge noise like a heat wave. Lin Feng looked up and saw that the rocket team, who was originally in the first place, had actually been replaced by the Flying Dragon team. Impossible, how could this be? Lu Qian covered her mouth in shock. Her rosy and beautiful face was pale and powerless, as if she had lost all her strength. Qin Ro and Li Han also opened their eyes wide, and their shocked expressions froze at that moment. The Flying Dragon team, who originally only had 512. 5 points actually soared. Points, 801. Looking for recommendations. Looking for members to click ***. Chapter 94. They had led for more than 3 months, but were overtaken in the last 15 minutes. This feeling was too bitter. The one who suffered the greatest blow was undoubtedly Lu Qian. Her pale face was pitiful. She was full of hope, but it was poured with cold water. The gazes of the surrounding people were filled with pity and soft sighs, causing the hearts of the members of the rocket squad to bleed. Ha! Ha ha! Unbridled laughter was a family's laughter. Wang Xianglong felt the pressure he had been suppressing for the past 3 months disappear in an instant. It was swept away. His mood was unprecedentedly good. Even the air he breathed felt so fresh. This feeling of counterattack was too wonderful. Wang Xianglong thought about how he could not only get the only spot in the scorching sun sect, but also win 30,000 sky martial coins from Lin Feng. He could wake up laughing even in his dreams. However, when this laughter landed in the ears of the members of the rocket squad, it was exceptionally sharp and ear-piercing. "Are you done laughing?" Lin Feng asked indifferently. A family needed a pillar. A martial practitioner team also needed one. Lin Feng had long adapted to this identity with him around. How could he allow the rocket squad to be beaten up by others without retaliating or rebuking? Wang Xianglong's laughter stopped abruptly. His expression was a little ugly. "I don't think there's anything funny about barking here like a mad dog." Lin Feng shrugged and said blandly. As soon as he said that, the surrounding martial practitioners roared with laughter. Even Qin Ro giggled. Lin Feng's description was very apartment. Wang Xianglong's face was pale. He snorted and said, "You have a sharp tongue. If you want to show off, go ahead. I'll see how you straighten your back later. Remember to prepare 30,000 sky martial coins. Don't embarrass yourself when you can't take it out." Then he raised his head proudly and waved his hand. "Let's go. There's something you said just now. I agree with it." Looking at Wang Xianglong's back, Lin Feng smiled indifferently. There's still 15 minutes before the real end. Wang Xianglong's footsteps paused as his expression changed slightly. Soon after, he laughed out loud. Shaking his head with a look of disdain, he strode away. "Humph! I won't let that egomaniac see us as a joke." Qin Ro pouted. "Well done, Lin Feng. Even if we lose, we won't lose." Li Han coldly snorted. Gently sighing, Lu Qian looked at Lin Feng and forced a smile. "Thanks to you, Lin Feng. I'm not qualified to be the vice captain. I only cared about myself. It's my duty." Lin Feng smiled faintly. In the face of provocation, one should endure when it was necessary, but when there was no need to, what was the point of tolerating it? Looking at the members of the rocket squad, Lu Qian lowered her head and apologized. "I'm sorry. This time it's all my fault. I was too selfish and made a wrong decision. I implicated everyone." Indeed, if they had continued to hunt at that time, it wouldn't have been difficult for the rocket squad to obtain more than 800 points. "Don't be like this, sister. We're not blaming you." Qin Ro hurriedly comforted her. "Yes, Sister Qian. If you say that, won't I, old Neo, be responsible too?" Li Han couldn't help but smile. "You." Lu Qian's eyes reddened. She was very touched. Suddenly, "Actually, why are you all so pessimistic?" Lin Feng smiled. His calm expression carried a faint confidence that filled people's hearts with strength. "Yes, one failure is nothing." Li Han clenched his fist. "If you fall, get up. We'll come again next year." Lu Qian and Qin Ro gently smiled and nodded. "That's not what I meant." Looking at the three, Lin Feng couldn't help but laugh. "It's not midnight yet, right? There's still a cup of tea's time left." Li Han's face was full of doubt. Lu Qian's beautiful eyes flickered. Her voice trembled as she said, "Lin Feng." Lin Feng didn't deny it and smiled. He casually took out a snow-white fox skin from the fluorescent compass and placed it on the table. The faint halo was incomparably beautiful. In a split second, the eyes of the rocket squad lit up. Not far away, there were already warriors who knew what it was that cried out in shock. "Heavens, isn't that whale white skin? It's real. F***CK. It's the skin of a medium-grade general whale white spirit fox." What luck! Among medium-grade generals, the whale white spirit fox was undoubtedly a very rare species. The skin on its body was also very precious. This whale white skin is in perfect condition. It should be able to sell for about 8,500 Tian Wu coins. Lu Qian's eyes flickered. Her anxious expression seemed even more charming. If it's converted to points, it should be, she calculated in her heart. However, Lu Qian was clearly too anxious and panicked for a moment. 56 points. Qin Ro said. "Right." Lu Qian revealed a smile and nodded. "Adding our original 742 points, a total of 798 points." Li Han said in a deep voice. "Ah." The two girls were both surprised. They bit their lips and sighed. Their hopes were dashed. The Flying Dragon Squad's points were 801. Adding this should be enough, right? Lin Feng scratched his head and took out a huge spiral-shaped rhinoceros horn. As for the conversion of points, he wasn't very good at it. See, the surrounding people all sucked in a breath. Lu Qian, Qin Ro, and Li Han opened their eyes wide. Looking at the rhinoceros horn, they immediately felt the aura of Pang Ran. They were so shocked that they couldn't say anything. Oh my God, am I seeing things? It's the horn of a high-grade general rhinoceros thunderbeast. F*CK. That thing is worth 20,000 Tian Wu coins. Countless shocked and shocked gazes gathered in the surroundings. Everyone was discussing where Lin Feng had gotten these expensive goods. This clearly wasn't something a 4-star squad could hunt. Looking at the shocked Lu Qian, Lin Feng couldn't help but smile. Sister Qian, if you don't go now, there won't be time. Lu Qian was shocked. Her face flushed red. She hurriedly picked up the rhinoceros horn and whale-white skin and rushed over. Seeing Lu Qian's rare embarrassment, Lin Feng couldn't help but smile. To be honest, he could even take out materials from the body of a horde leader. However, that was a little too scary. Little monster, you really are a little monster. Li Han's mouth was agape. After a long time, he only managed to say one sentence. Big brother Lin Feng, you're too amazing. Qin Ro happily grabbed Lin Feng's hand. Her heart seemed to be on a slide. She looked at Lin Feng with worship in her eyes. She suddenly stood on her tiptoes and kissed Lin Feng lightly. It was as fast as lightning. Lin Feng was shocked. He looked at Qin Ro, only to see her biting her lips and blushing. Lin Feng couldn't help but smile. He suddenly remembered that Sister Qian had kissed him on the other side of his face. It seemed that he really did have some luck with women. You're really amazing, Golden Eagle. You can even surpass the Rocket Squad like this. Golden Eagle, congratulations. On the other side of the square, Golden Eagle Wang Xianglong and the Flying Dragon Squad were in a good mood. There was less than half an hour left until the end of the hour. It could be said that the coffin was closed. The Flying Dragon Squad's counterattack against the Rocket Squad had already become the most popular topic. You're welcome. Thank you. Wang Xianglong was full of smiles. In a while, he would have double happiness. Not only would he get money, but he would also gain face. His future would be bright. What could be more worth being happy about? As for what Lin Feng had said before he left, he had long forgotten about it. Who didn't know how to say polite words? In his opinion, Lin Feng was like a fish out of water, struggling to survive. In just a short time, the Rocket Squad wanted to make a comeback. Dream on. Wang Xianglong's mind was already fantasizing about a beautiful future. However, suddenly, wow, there was a loud noise. The huge square was instantly filled with gasps. Everyone's mouths were wide open as they looked at the rolling screen in shock. At the last moment of the Ion Hour, the Rocket Squad had miraculously surpassed the Flying Dragon Squad once again, rising to the first place. Points, 932. In second place, the Flying Dragon Squad, points, 801. The difference was obvious. No, this is impossible. Wang Xianglong's face was ashen. Everyone in the Flying Dragon Squad was also stunned. It felt like they had fallen from heaven to hell in an instant. They fell to pieces. In a split second, Lin Feng's last words came to Wang Xianglong's mind. What he said turned out to be true. Wang Xianglong's eyes were aghast, and he fell into a chair. At this time, in the Fire God's forbidden area, Xiong'er, Orochimaru, Vulcan held the body of the giant python in his hand, and tears fell from his eyes. Although this scene was strange, it was extremely real. Vulcan was a loner. He had no relatives or friends. He only loved the fire spiritual beasts and treated them like his own children. Many of the fire spiritual beasts in the Fire God's forbidden area were raised by him since they were young. But he had only been away for a few months, and these children had been cruelly slaughtered. More than half of them were killed or injured. Most of them were his favorite. He had been feeding and cultivating them since they were born. It was not an exaggeration to say that they were as close as father and son. Who the hell did this? Fire God roared like a madman, his fingertips cracking. God D***M in it. After the award ceremony, Lin Feng said goodbye to the rocket squad and returned home. Thinking of Sister Qian's tears of joy and the pride of Qin Ro and Li Han, Lin Feng felt the same. After all, they had gone through trials and tribulations together. They had a deep relationship with each other. Lin Feng had long regarded them as friends. "That's all I can do for you," Lin Feng muttered softly. Even if he was unwilling, his fate with the rocket squad could only end here. After all, his current strength had far surpassed everyone's. After entering the scorching sun treasure vault, Lin Feng could not help but think of Wang Xianglong's dejected and bitter face when he saw the extra 30,000 Tianwu coins on his card. He nodded with a smile. However, at least he kept his word. It would be a waste if he did not take it. Although he did not care about this small amount of money now. However, he felt inexplicably carefree. Phew! Lin Feng exhaled deeply. A new year has begun. I must not slack off. I must continue to work hard. I wonder what Father will teach me tomorrow. Lin Feng's eyes shone brightly. He was obviously looking forward to it. He suddenly smiled. All right, I forgot to test my strength after coming back. I wonder how strong I am now. Lin Feng walked to the training room on the 4th floor as he muttered in his heart. Please recommend ... Thank you, everyone. Chapter 95. In the dead of night, in the training room on the 4th floor of the villa. Punk. A loud explosion sounded. It was oppressive and suppressed, as if all the strength had been condensed. Lin Feng stood indifferently in front of the strength testing machine, watching the numbers on the mirror continuously jump before finally stopping. 41880. Very good. Lin Feng was quite satisfied. The standard strength of a senior martial grandmaster was 40,000 Jin. The 3 months of hard work was not in vain. My current physical fitness has completely met the requirements of a senior martial grandmaster. Lin Feng clenched his fist, and the other 2 physical fitness tests appeared in his mind. Speed, 1,050 meters per second. Body strength, 101 titanium. His speed was slightly higher than the standard 800 meters per second, and his body strength was closer to the standard 128 titanium of a junior Emperor Wu. You gain something, you lose something. Lin Feng sighed. In these 3 months, his physical fitness had improved rapidly, but in the other 2 areas, his progress was slow. His body movement technique had only reached the peak of the proficient level from the small success level. His spear techniques had been comprehended to the 3rd level, but he hadn't even touched the door of the 4th level. But there was nothing he could do. After all, in that mysterious sea of fire, there were indeed many fire spirit beasts, but he couldn't find a single normal magical beast. There were no targets for him to practice his spear on, and the few middle-level generals had already been completely used. However, his results were still not bad. If I use my current strongest move, Scarlet Snake Flame Dance, with 4 times the force, my attack power will exceed 160,000. Combined with my speed and the peak of the proficient level, it will be enough to sweep away all the high-level generals and kill all the middle-level generals. Lin Feng nodded lightly. Even if he didn't have the identity of a fire spirit master, he was already a senior martial grandmaster in reality. And if he used the cloud shuttle to display the strength of a firefighter, it would be comparable to a senior Emperor Wu. I'll stay at home for a while. I'll take care of the other matters while cultivating. After that, I'll go to that mysterious sea of fire and cultivate in seclusion. I'll increase my strength to that of a junior Emperor Wu. Lin Feng's eyes flashed. Raising his strength to the level of Emperor Wu had always been his goal. It was the key to entering the hunt. Back then, Xiao had given him 2 requirements. One of them was that becoming a 7-star hunter was very simple, as he only needed to kill enough low-level horde lords. As for becoming Emperor Wu, but it was real. Early morning. Phew! He let out a long breath. Lin Feng opened his eyes, closed the mysterious book, and put it away. Although I don't know the use of this secret manual Father gave me, just by reading it, it has such an effect. Lin Feng felt a chill in his heart. The increase in energy, the increase in control of the primordial fire. There were too many benefits. The biggest benefit of this was that he could directly use his energy to attack. This mysterious power had helped him get through several dangerous situations. Otherwise, not to mention entering the mysterious sea of fire to cultivate, he would have probably died at the hands of the black-clothed man. It's almost 7 in the morning. Lin Feng's eyebrows were in high spirits. Today was the first time his father taught him. That feeling was a mixture of nervousness and excitement. He was looking forward to it. After tidying up a little, Lin Feng immediately walked towards his father's room. Knock, knock. He gently knocked on the door. Come in. His father's voice sounded. Pushing the door open and entering, Lin Feng's mood was clearly a little nervous. Looking at his father, Lin Feng softly called out, "Father." Lin Xiaotian nodded and calmly looked at his son. Unknowingly, he had already grown up. His heart was filled with mixed feelings. In the blink of an eye, 19 years have passed. Lin Xiaotian softly muttered to himself. Lin Feng was slightly startled. He then realized that he was 19 years old. He couldn't help but think to himself, "Is father talking about me?" One more year. Lin Xiaotian closed his eyes, as if he was recalling something. However, Lin Feng was inexplicably stunned. He frowned slightly and didn't know what his father meant by one more year. Just as he was thinking, his father's voice sounded leisurely. "Feng, where did you read Mystery of Souls?" Mystery of Souls? Lin Feng was startled. Lin Feng suddenly understood. He nodded and said, "The first page is almost finished." In the mysterious sea of fire, although the frequency of reading was not high, after all, it had been nearly 3 months. Plus what he had read at home before, the first page was indeed almost finished. "Do you know what the soul is?" Lin Xiaotian asked. The soul, the heart, and the primordial spirit. It is said that the spirit is the primordial spirit, and the soul is the god. Lin Feng replied without hesitation. Lin Xiaotian smiled indifferently and said, "How much do you know about the primordial spirit?" Lin Feng shook his head gently. Although he had read almost an entire page of the Secrets of Souls, it was mostly superficial and there weren't many parts that he could truly understand. It was too mysterious. Lin Xiaotian said indifferently, "Human beings are divided into soul and physique according to strength. They are divided into sky martial artist and God realm. They are named after the sky, meaning that this power is given by God. Of course, in the Timu continent, sky martial artist is called martial god, and God realm is called sky spirit master." Lin Feng's eyes widened, and his heart was shocked. The last short sentence was extremely problematic. What was in the Tianwu continent? Could it be sky martial artist is divided into 2 factions, and God realm is the same? Lin Xiaotian continued. One of the factions of God realm is sky spirit master, such as Feng the fire spirit master that you cultivate, and the other faction, we call it sky spirit master. Sky spirit master? Lin Feng's eyes lit up. Listening to his father's tone, it was obvious that this sky spirit master was the key. The soul is divided into spirit and soul, which are 2 completely different forces. Lin Xiaotian said slowly, "Spirit, also known as yuan, just like Feng your primordial fire can be slowly improved by absorbing the spiritual energy in the air, and soul, also known as God, exists in the deepest part of the mind. So that's how it is." Lin Feng suddenly understood. The reason why cultivation is so fast in the endless wilderness is because the spiritual energy in the air is high. And in the mysterious sea of fire, it is the same. Lin Feng quickly understood the simple truth. There is an inseparable connection between spirit and soul. Simply put, spirit is a soldier, and soul is a marshal. Lin Xiaotian's eyes flickered and said, "Sky Spirit Master can be divided into illusionist, psychic, and so on, but there is one thing in common, and that is soul power." Lin Feng nodded. Just like the Fire Spirit Master's Fire Martial Artist, Firefighter, and Fire Spirit Master, the fundamental, it is primordial fire. The application of soul power is very wide. For example, Psychic can directly attack with soul power. The power is indeed very strong, but it is also very dangerous. It is like a double-edged sword. If you're not careful, you will die. Looking at his father's eyes, Lin Feng's forehead could not help but exude a few drops of cold sweat, and his face was slightly pale. At this time, if he still did not understand, it would be too stupid. Obviously, the energy he had always thought of it was soul power. Don't worry, Feng. Lin Xiaotian shook his head and said, "You are still far from being a psychic, and your soul power will be overdrawn at most. Although there may be sequelae, but..." Lin Xiaotian smiled faintly and glanced at the fluorescent compass. "You can completely absorb the fire spirit pills and replenish it." Lin Feng's expression changed dramatically, and he was shocked. "Father?" Lin Feng looked at his father in disbelief. Lin Xiaotian's eyes were clear. "Actually, I am very curious, Feng. Where did you get these hundreds of fire spirit pills?" Chapter 96. Yin is not blind. Lin Xiaotian shook his head and said, "Feng you will know 1 year later." Another year later? Lin Feng was slightly stunned and felt surprised. What was the secret behind the 1 year later that his father said? Well, let's get back to the topic. Lin Xiaotian's expression was serious, and his indifferent majesty spread out. Lin Feng also concentrated and did not dare to be distracted. With a hint of curiosity in his eyes, Lin Feng looked straight at his father. In a split second, Lin Xiaotian's eyes flashed with a bright black light, like the depths of hell, full of endless darkness. Lin Feng only felt his heart tremble violently, and his body seemed to become light. His surrounding senses were extremely sharp, as if his body had taken off its shell. Swoosh! Lin Feng felt that he was sucked into a wonderful space. It was dark all around, and there was no light at all. It was extremely quiet. Suddenly, a huge pressure came, rushing straight to his mind and crazily squeezing his whole body. At the same time, countless ugly ghosts appeared like smoke in an instant. Their hideous faces were constantly magnified in front of him, roaring violently, as if they were going to swallow him alive. It was extremely horrifying. Lin Feng's body trembled slightly, and his mind was full of distracting thoughts. He only felt that his heart was about to jump out of his throat, and his blood was flowing faster and faster. At this moment, Feng read Mystery of Souls. A familiar voice suddenly came from his mind. "Yes, father." Lin Feng was shocked in a split second. The immense pressure continued to assault him, as if numerous small mountains were pressing down on him, causing rumbling sounds to ring out. The horrifying ghosts kept roaring. Lin Feng sat cross-legged, gritted his teeth, and breathed deeply, forcing himself to concentrate. Slowly, he forgot everything around him. Born, it's called essence. When two essences fight, it's called God. The inner thoughts are not cute, the outer thoughts are not in. Only I am independent. It's called primordial spirit. Chanting Mystery of the Soul over and over again, Lin Feng felt his heart become tranquil. Although the pressure around him was heavy, it seemed to have lessened by a lot. The ferocious demon in his mind continued to attack his mind, but did not affect him in the slightest. It was like a towering tree that was rooted to the ground, unshakable. In the endless darkness, the grayish-black book seemed to have flipped open on its own. Words appeared one after another in front of him, shining with a golden light. Lin Feng read, comprehended, and gradually integrated it into his cultivation. Feng is so determined. Lin Xiaotian nodded gently. Looking at his son sitting cross-legged and looking at the familiar face, Lin Xiaotian could not help but show a trace of nostalgia. This child is too much like his mother. Time continued to pass. Lin Feng felt as if a very, very long time had passed, because at every moment he could feel the pressure continued to increase. It was like a balloon constantly pumping air into it, causing the balloon to expand a little, and a little more. Lin Feng, on the other hand, could only persist, chanting every word and sentence of mystery of the soul in his mind, steadying his mind and bearing this powerful pressure. I haven't reached the limit yet. I can't give up. Clenching his teeth, Lin Feng's expression was stubborn. However, the pressure would not stop. It would only continue to increase and increase, until it was beyond Lin Feng's tolerance range. Boom! As if there was a loud explosion in his head, Lin Feng opened his eyes with a bang. What entered his sight was his father's fluctuating face, looking at him indifferently. In an instant, Lin Feng only felt that his head seemed to be cleaned, and his senses were extremely clear and sensitive. What he saw in front of him was much brighter, and even the fine dust in the air could be seen clearly. Dad, that was... Lin Feng was shocked. Dark illusion, the first level of soul cultivator. Lin Xiaotian nodded slowly. It's used to cultivate soul power and hone one's mind. Feng, or you just persisted for 38 seconds. Your first result is not bad. 38 seconds? Lin Feng was stunned, and his eyes were filled with shock. Why did it feel like 4 hours had passed? As if seeing Lin Feng's doubts, Lin Xiaotian explained. In the first level of the dark illusion, the time ratio with the outside world is 100. Lin Feng nodded as if he understood something. In other words, I stayed in this dark illusion for 3,800 seconds, a little more than half an hour. Lin Feng secretly thought, maybe because it's my first time entering the dark illusion, I'm not used to it and the pressure is too intense, so I feel that time passes more slowly. Dad, again! Lin Feng's eyes were shining, and his heart was jumping with joy. Although this kind of cultivation was quite difficult and lonely, as if it was squeezing the body to the limit. But the improvement of soul power could be felt. However, Lin Xiaotian shook his head. Cultivating in the illusion is quite a burden on the body. Cultivation must be done step by step and can't be spoiled by excessive enthusiasm. With Feng Er's current physique, entering once a day is the most suitable and the safest. Although Lin Feng was disappointed, he also understood that his father would not harm him. Moreover, in those 3,800 seconds in the dark illusion, every second he was indeed under great pressure. All right, Feng take out the black-winged wyvern egg, Lin Xiaotian said. Lin Feng responded. He had already told his father everything just now, and also knew the origin of the wyvern that was 1,000 meters long. Black-winged wyvern. It was a fire spirit beast mutated from a mid-level giant beast leader, iron-winged wyvern. A real dragon. Every one of them was at least a king-level existence. Dragons were lustful by nature. Like wyverns and earth dragons, they were not real purebred dragons, but their bloodline contained a trace of dragon blood. Even so, as long as the name had the word dragon, it was at least a giant beast leader level. Holding the dragon egg in his hand and feeling the rich life energy, Lin Feng's eyes were shining. He could predict that this would be expensive, but it was the same as the fire spirit pill. It could not see the light of day. This egg is condensed from the essence of the black-winged wyvern. It is priceless. Feng, you are lucky to be able to steal it. Lin Xiaotian smiled faintly. It's that powerful. Lin Feng was speechless. It seemed that he had lost the apple and picked up the watermelon. If you consume it directly, your strength will greatly increase in a short period of time. Lin Xiaotian nodded. Remember, don't be too hasty and absorb too much at once. Understood. Lin Feng's eyes brightened. Although this dragon egg was so precious that he was a little reluctant to part with it, it was still something that would die if exposed to the light. Although it would be a waste to eat it, it was still a good use. Scorching sun sect. Qian. An angry roar sounded. The expressions of all the disciples in the sect changed instantly. Who dared to call the sect master by his name in the Scorching Sun sect? Who was so bold? The person who came was dressed in fiery red clothes, and with his red hair and beard, he was like a burning flame. Even his eyes were on fire. Bang! He directly broke through the door. Fire God was furious. Great Elder, why are you so angry? Sect Master Qi Yin looked puzzled. Chien, let me ask you, did you kill my baby? Fire God's eyes bulged in anger, as if he wanted to kill someone. Your baby is dead. Sect Master Chi Yin was stunned and suddenly understood. He remembered that he had joked to Fire God that he would kill his fire spirit beast. No wonder he came to ask for a punitive expedition. Did you do it? Fire God gritted his teeth. You've lost your mind, Great Elder. Sect Master Chi Yin said indifferently. You and I have been together since the city in the sky, working on the doomsday plan together. How can I spare time to kill your baby? Besides, what good does it do me? Fire God heard this and immediately sat on the ground like a child, muttering to himself, It's not you, it's not you. Then who is it? Fire God roared as if he had gone mad. His hysterical expression was like a furious giant beast. One could completely imagine his feelings at this moment. Sect Master Chi Yin shook his head and sighed. Even though Fire God contradicted him, Sect Master Chi Yin did not blame him. Putting himself in Fire God's shoes, anyone who lost a loved one would feel the same. Bring me to take a look, Great Elder. Sect Master Chi Yin's expression was calm. Sect Master, you must help me. Fire God raised his head, his eyes burning with a fierce light. Don't worry. Sect Master Chi Yin agreed. Not only did Fire God treat him like a nephew, he had also made great contributions to the Scorching Sun sect. He would do his best, be it for public or private reasons. It was done by a fire spirit master, Sect Master Chi Yin said softly. Yes, and he was extremely ruthless. My baby died, too tragically. Fire God said angrily, gnashing his teeth. The murderer's strength should be between a high-level martial grandmaster and a low-level Emperor Wu, Sect Master Chi Yin said in a low voice. How do you know? Fire God was stunned. It's very simple. Sect Master Chi Yin looked around and said slowly, because the strongest fire spirit beast killed by the murderer was a mid-level horde commander. In other words, a high-level horde commander is beyond the murderer's ability. If the murderer came for the fire spirit pill, there is no reason for them to let go of the most valuable high-level horde commander. Fire God nodded and looked at Sect Master Chi Yin anxiously. What else? The murderer used a spear, and his attainment in spear arts is quite good. Sect Master Chi Yin's eyes shone. There were a few mid-level general fire spirit beasts whose external injuries were caused by a spear. Of course, we can't rule out the possibility that there are more than two murderers. Also, the murderer has a flying treasure. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to enter the Fire God Forbidden Ground before becoming a titled martial god, Sect Master Chi Yin added. I will remember, Sect Master. Fire God gritted his teeth. Sect Master Chi Yin nodded and said, Let's split up. Great Elder, you go to the Hunter Organization, and I will go to Sky City. Immediately check the Fire Spirit Pill transaction records for the past few months and see if there is anything suspicious. Also, investigate the Fire Spirit Masters between high-level Martial Grandmasters and low-level Emperor Wu carefully, especially spear users. Fire God's eyes were burning. Lin Feng didn't know that he was currently being targeted by two great experts. Coming out from his father's room, Lin Feng casually ate his breakfast and was about to go up to the 6th floor to study this dragon egg, when suddenly, beep, the fluorescent compass lit up. Lin Feng picked it up. It was an unfamiliar number. Is that so? I found Wang Hao. Very good. I will transfer the rest of the money to your card. After answering indifferently, Lin Feng immediately ended the call. His eyes shone with a cold light, and his killing intent was clear. Money makes the world go round. Finding someone in Heaven's Sun City was not difficult. Early New Year's greetings. I wish everyone's wishes come true. Give me your red packets, carrot. Next Monday, which is the 2nd day of the new year, Fire Refining the Starry Sky will be published. I hope everyone can subscribe and support it. It would be even better if you have monthly tickets. Thank you. Chapter 97. Brother, where are you going so early in the morning? Behind him, his sister Lin Shuayer yelled. I'm going to find an old friend. Lin Feng said indifferently. Is this the place? Lin Feng raised his head. In front of him was a garden villa in the west of the city. In terms of size and value, it might not be comparable to the independent villas in the central area, but the garden was beautiful and fragrant. Obviously, the owner of this villa had a lot of power in Cloud Sun City. But so what? He calmly stepped forward. The 4 guards outside the door immediately shouted, "Halt!" Eyes sparkling, Lin Feng's expression didn't change, but his body moved forward as if he was teleporting. Bang, bang. A crisp hand chop landed on the back of their necks. 2 of the guards rolled their eyes and fainted. The other 2 guards' complexions changed in shock. Before they could react, another hand chop landed on the side of their necks. One of the guards fell to the ground with a thud. The remaining guard was shocked and was about to pull out his knife. Suddenly, woo-woo, the feeling of suffocation came. It was as if there was a heavy shackle on his neck, and his body lost its center of gravity. All the blood in his body condensed. "Pa!" Lin Feng loosened his hand and looked at the frightened guard in front of him. His eyes emitted a cold light. "Take me to Wang Hao, or else I'll kill you." "Yes, yes." The guard hurriedly nodded. In the garden villa, the morning dew was fresh, and the peach blossoms were blooming. Beautiful flowers were blooming, and it was a beautiful scene. Even the people in the garden became beautiful and handsome. On the small bridge, a beautiful and charming woman was chatting happily with a handsome young man. They were laughing and laughing continuously. "Brother Hao, you said you would marry you can't go back on your words." Her voice was sweet and charming, with a coquettish tone. "Don't worry, Wang Hao was high-spirited. His handsome face was mixed with the cold aura of a warrior, and he had a unique charm. Looking at the charming girl in front of him, Wang Hao was very satisfied. This was the only daughter of the rich man in the city, Chen Yu. In terms of power, she might not be as powerful as the Qin family, but in terms of wealth, in Cloud Sun City, he was one of the best. However, that Lin Feng actually didn't die. Wang Hao thought in his heart, and he couldn't help but frown slightly. There's no way the Hunters' Alliance didn't do anything, unless... Wang Hao's heart shuddered. Other people might not understand the reason behind Scarface Wang Hu's death, but he did. Lin Feng might have a powerful background. It's best if I don't provoke him. Because of Lin Feng, Wang Hao even skipped the most important end-of-year award ceremony. Brother Hao. Chun Xinya exclaimed lightly, and she couldn't help but speak angrily as she gazed at Wang Hao, who was in a daze. "What are you thinking about, Brother Hao?" Wang Hao smiled embarrassedly and was about to speak when suddenly, a huge pressure covered his entire body, and the bright sky seemed to have turned dark in an instant. The air was thin, and it kept pressing down on his body, making it difficult for him to move. Wang Hao's expression changed drastically. He raised his head in shock, only to see a familiar figure gradually enter his eyes. No. Why is he here? Wang Hao felt as if his soul had left his body. It was Lin Feng, slowly walking over. Lin Feng's expression was like a calm lake. His pitch-black pupils stared straight into Wang Hao's eyes, emitting a fierce aura. Killing intent. There's no way he knows that I was the one who told on him. It's impossible. Wang Hao's expression changed, and he forced himself to calm down. Who are you? Chun Xinya shrieked. Why did you break into my garden? Guards! In an instant, countless guards rushed out from all around the garden, heading straight for Lin Feng. Chun Xinya bit her lips and shouted, "Catch him!" However, bang, bang, bang. In just a few moves, the originally burly guards all fell to the ground, and they couldn't even stop Lin Feng. It was an effortless attack. Lin Feng's expression was still calm, and he approached Wang Hao step by step. The powerful and terrifying pressure made Wang Hao feel as if he was about to collapse. Lin Feng, how can he be so strong? Wang Hao was shocked. Among these guards, the weakest was a mid-level martial warrior, and the strongest was not inferior to him. However, in front of Lin Feng, they were like babies. It had only been a few months. Don't come over. Chun Xinya retreated with a pale face. Are you afraid? Lin Feng's voice sounded leisurely. However, he wasn't talking to Chun Xinya, but to someone else. Wang Hao's face twitched slightly, and he forced a smile. Why? Why would I? All right, Lin Feng, what are you doing here? Chen Xinya covered her mouth in shock. From the few words, she could tell that this ridiculously strong young man was looking for Wang Hao, and not her. What do you think? Lin Feng smiled calmly. Is there a misunderstanding? Wang Hao's eyes darted around, and his heart was burning with anxiety. Even an idiot could tell that Lin Feng didn't just barge in to catch up. Misunderstanding. Lin Feng smiled. Immediately, his face turned cold, and Lin Feng's eyes shot out a cold light. Don't give me that. Although I don't know why you betrayed me, and I don't want to know, since you did it, you should have known that one day I would come knocking on your door. Lin Feng, what evidence do you have? Wang Hao retreated with trembling legs. Evidence? Lin Feng looked at Wang Hao and calmly scribbled a few words. Do you need evidence to kill someone? In a split second, his iron-like right hand grabbed Wang Hao's neck. As fast as the wind. With Wang Hao's strength, he couldn't even see how Lin Feng attacked. He only saw a flash of light, and then he was lifted up like a little chick. The feeling of suffocation hit him in the face, and his blood seemed to stop flowing. Wang Hao struggled with all his might, but he couldn't utter a single word. He vaguely heard Chen Xinya's voice. Quick, let go, Brother Hao. Chen Xinya was extremely anxious, and she looked at Lin Feng with a frightened expression. Do you know that the crime of killing someone in Firmament City is very serious? However, Lin Feng turned a deaf ear to her, as if he didn't hear her at all. Looking at Wang Hao, he couldn't help but think of the days in the Rocket Squad. Everyone hunted together and joked together. Once upon a time, that was such a happy time. But crack! A crisp sound rang out. Chen Xinya only felt her vision go dark, and her heart seemed to stop beating. She immediately fainted. Bang! Wang Hao's body fell heavily to the ground. There was no trace of blood on his body, but his neck was completely shattered. He was thoroughly dead. Shaking his head, Lin Feng immediately turned and left without any pity in his eyes. Mercy was a sin. Lin Xianglong's matter was deeply imprinted in Lin Feng's mind. That day in the ruins of he almost died in Lin Xianglong's hands. After leaving the Qin mansion, Lin Feng immediately returned home. To him, killing Wang Hao was simply a trivial matter. Crime? Including Sun Li, he had already taken 21 lives. So what if there was one more Wang Hao? In the cultivation room on the 6th floor, Lin Feng took out the black-winged flying dragon's egg and gently placed it on the ground. It was white with a hint of red, and it was rich in vitality. Phew! Exhaling deeply, Lin Feng's eyes lit up. If I eat it, my strength will greatly increase in a short period of time. Lin Feng recalled his father's words in his mind, and he no longer hesitated. Anyway, this egg couldn't be exposed to the public, and it was good to use it as a waste. However, how should he eat it? Lin Feng was puzzled. He scratched his head, and suddenly his eyes lit up. Got it. Lin Feng nodded. Bang! A cluster of flames suddenly rose from his right hand, and in a split second, it seemed to be squashed, forming the shape of a needle. The tip emitted a sharp orange luster. The third stage of controlling the primordial fire, congealing fire. He could control the primordial fire to change into any shape. If he could use a fireball, he could use a fire needle as well. Carefully placing the dragon egg flat, he gently pierced the fire needle into it. Immediately, the dragon egg trembled slightly. Slowly, Lin Feng's face bloomed with joy. A sparkling and translucent liquid slowly flowed out of the egg, emitting an enormous vitality. It was sweet and refreshing, and didn't have the unpleasant smell that he imagined. However, when it landed in his stomach, it was as if he had swallowed a ball of fire, and it suddenly exploded. Lin Feng's expression suddenly became serious, and he sat cross-legged, concentrating his mind. Soon, with a light tremble in his mind, Lin Feng arrived at a familiar place. That fire lotus was still rotating at a moderate pace, and the orange-colored primordial fire was being absorbed bit by bit, replenished, and formed a perfect cycle with that mysterious purple flame. It was just that it was no longer like the mysterious sea of fire, where there was a large amount of spirit energy pushing it forward, allowing his strength to advance by leaps and bounds. However, at this time, there was a sparkling and translucent liquid that spread out in all directions, merging into every inch of his body and every cell. In an instant, his cells shook violently, as if they were filled with an extremely terrifying energy. They suddenly swelled, expanded, and trembled violently. In an instant, they split into two, two into four, and four into eight. Extremely fast speed, the abundant energy seemed to cause every cell to explode. The power of the dragon egg liquid was quite terrifying. At this moment, Lin Feng finally understood why his father had specially warned him. If he overdid it and absorbed too much at once, not to mention increasing the vitality of his cells, even his original cells would be rapidly killed. His skin was constantly being strengthened, and even his meridians and bones were changing due to the warmth of the dragon egg liquid. Lin Feng only felt that the quality of his body was rapidly increasing. The speed of growth compared to the primordial fire was like the primordial fire compared to the primordial energy. The difference was huge. An hour later, how terrifying. Lin Feng shook his head in shock. The speed of growth of his strength was more than 10 times faster than when he was in the mysterious sea of fire. And what he had consumed was merely a few drops of the dragon egg liquid. Just as he was about to continue absorbing, suddenly, Lin Feng muttered softly. Chapter 98. Through the small hole in the dragon egg, a fiery red could be vaguely seen. What is this? Lin Feng was curious. That fiery red light spot blended into this translucent liquid, like a pearl in the palm, incomparably conspicuous. Although he was confused, Lin Feng did not pay too much attention to it. After all, this was his first time coming into contact with a rare item like the dragon egg. It was too normal. Let's continue. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. Originally, he did not pay too much attention to the short period of time that his father had mentioned. But now, he truly understood. What did this short period of time mean? In an underground palace, it was a splendid sight. On the golden dragon throne, the black-clothed man, Greenwood Dove, had an extremely ugly expression. He picked up a wine cup with his right hand and downed it in one gulp. Ha! The wine cup was crushed into pieces. Black Snake, did you fail as well? Greenwood Dove's eyes were cold and sharp. There has been no news for so many days. Greenwood Dove frowned and thought to himself. The last time, the mysterious expert was severely injured and only the prey was left. Logically speaking, with Black Snake's ability, he should not have made any mistakes. Could it be that he was killed by the prey instead? Greenwood Dove sneered and shook his head. He felt that this idea was too ridiculous. At this moment, a black figure suddenly appeared in front of him like a ghost. Messenger. Greenwood Dove's eyes lit up. The king wants to see you. Your subordinate greets the king of Kakravarti. Greenwood Dove kneeled on one knee and cupped his hands. It was a masked man wearing a golden dragon robe. He was tall and had a majestic and imposing aura. Although his face could not be seen, just his bright eyes gave off an endless amount of pressure. It was as if he was in the void. Greenwood, you have disappointed me. The king of Kakravarti's voice was very calm. Greenwood Dove was shocked, and cold sweat appeared on his forehead. Your subordinate failed to complete the mission. Please forgive me, your majesty. Do you know about the recent fire god incident? The Kakravarti king asked calmly. Greenwood Dove nodded. I know a thing or two. Then do you know, for the sake of investigating the murderer, even Sect Master Scarlet Mantis personally set out? The Kakravarti king's eyes were cold. The fire god is just a brute, but the Red Centipede sect leader is different. The Black Serpent incident has been traced back to us and brought us a lot of trouble. Do you know your crime? After all, the Hunters' Alliance existed in the darkness. The Martial Heaven continent could not tolerate them. This subordinate has failed in his duty. Please punish me, your majesty. Greenwood Dove felt a chill run down his spine. Since you have contributed a lot, I'll forgive you for your dereliction of duty." The Cakravarti king raised his hand and said, "However, you have to take full responsibility for the loss of the platinum disc flying vehicle." "Yes, king." Greenwood Dove's face was ashen. That day, in order to capture Lin Feng, he had specially applied for a flying-type treasure for Black Snake. Now, he had gone for wool and come home shorn. In the training room on the 6th floor of the villa, the spacious room was empty. Lin Feng was dressed in loose martial attire and sat alone in the middle of the room. The process of consuming the dragon egg liquid was not easy. His body felt like it was in a war, and he could feel the pressure at every moment. It was as if he had swallowed a huge ball of fire. Then, the ball of fire slowly spread throughout his body. The burning sensation would continue until the fire dissipated. But at that time, another cycle would begin. It was very painful, but Lin Feng was very happy, because the speed of his strength increasing was extremely fast. He could feel his body's quality improving every second. Every minute of pain brought him closer to the level of Emperor Wu. The movements of his body were very intense. It directly caused him to be unable to do other things, such as spear practice. However, the training of his control over the primordial fire was not a problem. Multitasking might be a problem for other martial artists, but for Lin Feng, it was too easy. In the dark illusion, it was as if countless evil spirits could jump out of his mind at every moment. He did not care about such terrible interference, not to mention the small pain of consuming the dragon egg liquid. Bang! Bang! The primordial fire suddenly gathered, and an orange light shone brightly. Lin Feng's expression was calm and natural. His heart moved as the primordial fire continued to rise. With the advancement of the primordial fire, the quantity of the primordial fire decreased greatly. It was like 10 silver coins were exchanged for 1 gold coin. The same size, but the value was different. Compared to the previous red primordial fire, the current orange primordial fire was much more powerful, more than 10 times. From light orange to light orange, and from light orange to bright orange, the primordial fire continued to increase. 10 centimeters, 15 centimeters, 18 centimeters. The primordial fire extinguished. Lin Feng exhaled a long breath, his face filled with joy. It increased so much all of a sudden. Lin Feng said softly in surprise. Due to the increase of his soul power, the total amount of primordial fire he could control increased again. The original 17 centimeters of primordial fire was now close to 20 centimeters. In less than a day, it had increased by 3 centimeters. This rate of improvement was extremely shocking. It's the illusion of darkness. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. This morning, his father's guidance was still vivid in his mind. Soul power was like a general, and primordial fire was like a soldier. The stronger the general was, the more soldiers he could command. Soul power and primordial fire had an extremely close relationship. At this speed, my control of primordial fire will soon reach the 4th stage. Adept fire. Lin Feng nodded vigorously. The arbitration was a special place in Cloud Sun City. As the name suggested, it was responsible for arbitration. If the citizens of Cloud Sun City had a problem that needed to be solved, they could report it to the arbitration. From murder to minor disputes, all of them were under the jurisdiction of the arbitration. And at this moment, the meeting hall was bustling with noise and excitement. Lin Feng killed my son Wang Jin. His methods were extremely cruel. Such a murderer cannot be tolerated. Wang Jin, Wang Hao's father, was filled with grief and indignation. Lin Feng trespassed into my Chun clan, injured my guards, and even killed them. My daughter, Xinya, witnessed everything and was severely frightened. Until now, she has been bedridden. Her heart and spleen are both weak. If such a villain is not eliminated, where is the law? The rich man in the city, Chun Yu, was filled with righteous indignation. Lin Feng trespassed into my Sun clan's mansion in broad daylight. My Sun clan's 20 guards all died tragically. My son, Sun Li had his throat broken. Before he died, more than half of his teeth fell out and his limbs were broken. He was humiliated. I hope that the sect master and vice sect master will uphold justice for this old man and kill this lunatic. Otherwise, I will kneel for a long time. As he spoke, the vice clan leader of the martial clan, Sun Xing, knelt on the ground with a plop. Wang Jin and Qin Yu looked at Sun Xing in shock. From the looks of it, this villain Lin Feng could be considered to be merciful to them. All the arbitrators in the meeting hall were whispering to each other and discussing animatedly. From time to time, they would frown deeply. Qin Hua and Qin Lai, who sat at the highest seats, looked at each other in dismay. For a moment, they were also stunned by this shocking news, but they did not know what to do. Although there were arbitrators in the assembly hall, the highest decision-making power was still in the hands of Qin Hua. In Cloud Sun City, the Cloud Sun martial clan's position was supreme. "Brother, what do you think?" Qin Hua's face was gloomy. "The evidence is conclusive. It should be true." Qin Lai was also in a difficult position. Cloud Sun City had its own rules. It was fine to turn a blind eye to something that happened within the scope of power. However, this time, Lin Feng had caused too much trouble. Wang Hao's father, Wang Jin, was an intermediate martial grandmaster. He was quite famous in the Cloud Sun martial clan. Although Chan Yu's strength was ordinary, his wealth was among the top in Cloud Sun City. He had a wide network. As for Sun Xing, he was an advanced martial grandmaster. He was also one of the vice hall masters of the martial clan under the jurisdiction of the Cloud Sun martial clan. In terms of power and interpersonal relationships, he was one of the top in Cloud Sun City. The three of them were more powerful than the other. Even if Qin Hua was the sect leader, this matter could not be suppressed. Sect leader, vice sect leader, this kind of villain must not be tolerated. One of the arbitrators said coldly, "That's right. If this matter is spread out, won't the reputation of the assembly hall be ruined?" Another arbitrator echoed. For a moment, the 10 arbitrators were speaking one after another. All of them slammed the table and stood up with righteous expressions. Qin Hua looked at Qin Lai. The two of them were in a difficult position. Others might not know, but they knew clearly who Lin Feng was. How could they touch a reserve member of the hunt? But, "Lin Feng, you really know how to make things difficult for me." Qin Hua was obviously in a difficult position. "Brother." Qin Lai shook his head with a solemn expression. Qin Hua understood Qin Lai's meaning. He sighed and said seriously, "I know. Everyone, calm down. Someone, go and invite Lin Feng over." "Yes, sect leader. Looking for recommendation tickets, subscription tickets, monthly tickets, .. Chapter 99. The night gradually darkened at 4:45. At this moment, Lin Feng and his family were happily gathered together, happily preparing dinner. Suddenly, there was a commotion outside, and there was a knock on the door. "Open the door." Lin Feng's expression was indifferent. The housekeeper opened the door, and in an instant, a large group of martial arts gate disciples with cold faces rushed in and quickly surrounded the hall. Every one of them was fully armed, and their eyes were cold. In an instant, all the maids in the hall kept quiet out of fear, not knowing what was going on. What's going on?" Lin Wanqing came out of the kitchen, and when she saw this scene, her face suddenly turned pale. "Brother." Lin Shui covered her small mouth in shock and looked at Lin Feng in horror. Her beautiful eyes flashed with deep worry. Obviously, all eyes were gathered on Lin Feng. Under the orders of the gate master, "Lin Feng, please come with us to the Arbitration Institute," the leading martial arts gate disciple said in a deep voice. The atmosphere was very oppressive, and there was a suffocating feeling. However, at this moment, Lin Feng smiled indifferently. Lin Feng looked as calm as ever. He slowly stood up, as if this was just a small matter that had nothing to do with him. The leading martial arts gate disciple waved his hand, and suddenly, 2 burly disciples walked forward. Their faces were cold, and each of them held Lin Feng with one hand. "Get lost." Lin Feng spat out 2 words indifferently. His fist stretched out like lightning, and with a shake, a fierce wind shot out. Bang! Bang! Like two heavy punches, the two burly disciples suddenly held their stomachs in pain and fell to the ground with white foam at the mouth, with cold sweat running down their backs. In an instant, the oppressive and suffocating atmosphere was broken. All the martial arts gate disciples were horrified, and they stared blankly at Lin Feng. Their hearts were greatly shaken. Just the wind from his fists had such power. What a terrifying strength. You. The leading martial arts gate disciple's expression suddenly changed. However, Lin Feng did not care about him. Lin Feng's gaze swept across everyone in the family. Looking at his mother's pale face, he lightly nodded and said, "Don't worry, mother. I'm fine." "Fenger, brother." Listening to the worried voice, Lin Feng couldn't help but smile. "I'll be right back. Wait for me at home." After saying that, he walked out the door. His calm demeanor made it seem as if he was sitting steadily on a fishing boat despite the storm. He was full of confidence. All the martial gate disciples looked at Lin Feng, but none of them dared to step forward. His powerful and terrifying strength had already intimidated everyone. Only until Lin Feng's back slowly disappeared did the martial gate's disciples carefully follow him, afraid that they would anger this temperamental villain. "Big brother, he will be all right? Shuai bit her lips. Since Feng said so, he should be fine. Lin Wanqing forced a smile, but her nails dug deep into the flesh of her palms. Lin Yin didn't speak, but the change in his expression revealed the worry in his heart. Only Lin Xiaodian was still sitting calmly on a rattan chair, looking out of the window as if nothing had happened. Arbitration Institute. A heavy creaking sound came from the door, and it was slowly pushed open. Lin Feng strode in calmly. The first thing he saw was a familiar face in the distance. Qin Hua. At this time, Qin Hua was sitting at the head of the table, and beside him was Deputy Sect Leader Qin Lai. 10 arbitrators stood on both sides, and hundreds of arbitrators stood around the lobby, whispering and discussing from time to time. When they saw Lin Feng come in, they suddenly became silent. Behind him, many disciples of the martial gate followed closely behind him, as if they were his underlings. They followed closely behind Lin Feng and closed the door. It was like catching a turtle in a jar. It's quite a big battle array. Lin Feng smiled indifferently. Right now, he knew very well what had happened. Just like what he said to Wang Hao. Since he could do it, he had expected this day to come. Countless eyes gathered around, but 3 of them were particularly sharp, full of strong resentment, anger, and all kinds of mixed emotions. In fact, among the arbitrators and arbitrators who were dressed in uniform, these 3 were undoubtedly very special. "Lin Feng, you villain!" Wang Jin, Wang Hao's father, was trembling with anger. "Murderer! Today you must pay with your blood." Sun Xing, the deputy hall master of the martial gate, gritted his teeth, and his eyes were full of resentment. When Lin Feng saw that expression, a cold light flashed between his eyebrows. Deja vu. Right, Lin Nanhu? Lin Feng suddenly remembered that once, Lin Nanhu looked at him with the same expression. The other middle-aged man in gorgeous clothes seemed to be much more refined. He just stood with his hands behind his back and glared at him. "Okay, quiet," Qin Hua said solemnly. The hall suddenly quieted down. Here, Qin Hua's prestige was extremely high. Their eyes met. Lin Feng vaguely remembered that the first time he saw Qin Hua was in Qihua Town. That day, he broke into Qihua Martial Arts Hall at night, killed Lin Nanhu in front of everyone, and seriously injured Lin Xianglong. At that time, the person who helped and protected him was the man in front of him. The bright red flame on his forehead was still fresh in his memory. It was as if a god had descended. But now, Qin Hua's heart was surging with waves. After almost half a year, he felt completely different seeing Lin Feng again. That calm and collected appearance, that calm and natural temperament, inadvertently revealed, made people tremble from the bottom of their hearts. Especially that pair of pitch-black eyes, which were filled with a mysterious aura. "He is Lin Feng." Qin Hua shook his head violently. In fact, not only Qin Hua, but Qin Lai was also shocked. Compared to Qin Hua, he had seen with his own eyes Lin Feng climb up step by step from the preparatory martial artist assessment until now. When he stood in front of him, it was as if he was weaker. How is this possible? Qin Lai's expression kept changing. This must be an illusion. Qin Hua and Qin Lai couldn't help but say to themselves. Lin Feng looked around calmly. It was as if he was surrounded by a pack of wolves in the magical beast forest, with danger lurking everywhere. May I know why the sovereign has summoned me? Lin Feng asked calmly. Qin Hua signaled Lin Feng with his eyes and cleared his throat. Lin Feng, did you break into the Chun residence, injure the Chen family guards, and kill Wang Hao? According to Qin Hua, as long as Lin Feng firmly denied it, there would be room for negotiation. Chen Yu, one of the richest men in the city, didn't lose much. With enough time, it wouldn't be difficult to deal with him. As for Wang Jin, he was just an intermediate martial grandmaster. What could he do? However, yes, Lin Feng replied without hesitation. His expression didn't change at all, as if this was a trivial matter. Qin Hua's expression suddenly changed. The words he was about to say were stuck in his throat. You murderer! Wang Jin will not let you go? Wang Jin shouted angrily. Hearing Lin Feng admit it, Wang Jin was like an enraged tiger, enraged beyond belief. Chen Yu frowned. As a businessman, he was best at reading people's expressions. Seeing Lin Feng admit it so decisively, he felt that this matter was not normal. Silence. Qin Hua shouted, but his eyes were looking at Lin Feng, trying to signal him with his eyes. He secretly thought that this little guy didn't know what was good for him. Wang Jin clenched his teeth and shut his mouth. However, his eyes were still filled with anger. Lin Feng. Qin Hua's voice became heavier. He frowned and hinted at Lin Feng. He coldly shouted, Have you killed your way into the Sun Clan's mansion and tortured Sun Li and the 20 guards of the Sun Clan? After he finished speaking, he repeatedly blinked his eyes. Whether it was Wang Jin or Chen Yu, he had a way to deal with them. However, Sun Xing, he couldn't suppress it. Don't admit it. Qin Hua and Qin Lai prayed in their hearts. However, things didn't go as they wished. He deserved to die. Lin Feng's eyes were cold. As soon as he said this, it was equivalent to indirectly admitting that he killed Sun Li. In an instant, there was an uproar. He really did it. God, he's a madman. Sun Xing was like a vicious wolf, staring at Lin Feng and gnashing his teeth. Lin Feng, you crazy murderer. You're the disgrace of the Firmament martial sect. How did my son offend you? Why did you torture him to death? Death. That's too easy for him. Lin Feng's words were shocking. Looking around, Lin Feng's dark eyes flashed with a gloomy luster as he stared at Sun Xing. A dignified man set up a trap to deceive a little girl. In order to ask for compensation, like a hooligan, he slapped my sister and beat up my brother, causing them to suffer physical pain. Lin Feng's heart suddenly twisted. Thinking of the humiliation and injuries his brother and sister suffered, he couldn't wait to tear Sun Li into pieces. This kind of person deserved to die. Suddenly, there was an uproar as people talked about it. Sun Xing also knew a little about his son's matter. He suddenly became weak. Even so, it's not a crime worthy of death. Lin Feng frowned coldly and pointed at his temple. In my place, it's a crime worthy of death. Looking for recommendation votes ***. Chapter 100. Sun Xing was so angry that he was speechless. At this moment, Wang Jin took a step forward and said angrily, Then what kind of deep hatred does my son, Wang Hao, have with you? We're all on the same martial artist team, so we should help each other. Even if there's no friendship between us, you don't have to kill him and take his life. Qin Hua frowned slightly. He had heard about Sun Li, but Wang Hao, nothing. I just don't like him, Lin Feng replied calmly. For a moment, the entire hall fell silent. Wang Jin was so angry that he almost vomited blood. Even Qin Hua frowned. Anyone with a discerning eye could see that Lin Feng was being perfunctory and was not telling the truth. Lin Feng's expression was indifferent. Explain? Was there a need? Sect leader, please punish this murderer. A life for a life, as a warning to others. Wang Jin gritted his teeth and said sternly, Sect leader, please kill this lunatic and use his blood as a sacrifice for the 22 lives that were lost. Sun Xing's hair stood on end, and his eyes were about to pop out of their sockets. The two of them were beyond furious. Qin Yu hesitated and glanced at Lin Feng. When he saw that Lin Feng was still calm, his expression changed slightly. If it was an ordinary person, he would definitely not have such a reaction. Either he was ignorant and fearless, or he had a backup plan. Qinhua looked troubled. He definitely could not touch Lin Feng. If he dared to kill Lin Feng, he would have to eat a bear's heart and leopard's guts. However, if he did not touch Lin Feng, it would be difficult for him to settle today's matter. What a headache. Sect leader, nothing can be accomplished without rules. We must punish this murderer severely. One of the arbitrators stood up. That's right, sect master. We can't be soft-hearted. Once this example is made, the law will be gone. Another arbitrator nodded in agreement. Qin Hua and Qin Lai looked at each other and saw the arbitrators step forward one after another. Things were obviously going out of control, so they were hesitant. Suddenly, a majestic fighting spirit was emitted, and a terrifying aura instantly enveloped the entire hall. Lin Feng's eyes flickered with a pitch-black light, like an endless and silent black hole. His cold gaze swept across everyone in the hall. In an instant, everyone who came into contact with the terrifying light felt their hearts tremble. Their bodies felt a strong pressure, and they felt like they were suffocating. Enough! What a load of nonsense! Lin Feng's voice was cold as his eyes narrowed. Whoosh! Whoosh! Like two sharp arrows, they shot straight into the eyes of Wang Jin and Sun Xing, and they sparkled with cold light. An astonishing amount of soul power instantly erupted. Sun Xing felt his head explode, and it was as if he had entered a world of darkness. His body trembled violently, and a terrifying pressure seeped into his body through the air, making him unable to move at all. Wang Jin, who was slightly weaker, was in an even worse state. His expression was blank, and he was confused. Boom! Boom! Two streaks of orange elemental fire instantly burned. The ferocious color and the terrifying hot aura caused the originally quiet hall to be filled with gasps. Oh my God! What is that? Am I seeing things? Fire, fire. The hundreds of arbitrators all widened their eyes as they looked at the two streaks of orange flames. Even the depths of their souls were trembling. The eyes of the 10 arbitrators were also filled with horror. Others might not understand, but how could they not know? Elemental fire, fire spirit master. Qin Lai and Qin Hua stared at each other. At this moment, even their hearts felt like they were about to jump out. However, what made them even more shocked was yet to come. In the blink of an eye, the blazing orange elemental fire condensed into 2 fireballs. The explosive power was completely concentrated within them. The fireballs emitted a sizzling sound, as if demons were swallowing the air. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. In an instant, the 2 fireballs were like arrows leaving the bowstring. They shot out rapidly. Sun Xing's head shook. Just as he came back to his senses, a large patch of orange flames suddenly appeared in front of him. His eyes widened abruptly. Boom! Rumble! The sound of flames exploding rang out, and everyone was dumbfounded. Pa! Plop! Many arbitrators who were not strong enough fell to the ground in horror. Their legs trembled, and they did not even have the strength to stand up. Even the 10 arbitrators felt a chill run down their spines. Their hearts seemed to have stopped at that moment, and their mouths were wide open. Their dumbfounded expressions were extremely funny. Qin Hua and Qin Lai, who were the strongest among them, held their breaths. They felt as if their throats were blocked, and they could not make a sound. A scorching hot aura drifted in the lobby. Sun Xing and Wang Jin had already disappeared from the face of the earth. Not even their bones remained. At this moment, Lin Feng's thin figure fell into the eyes of everyone. He was like a demon. Where are the rules? Where are the rules? Lin Feng looked around with an indifferent expression. There was a hint of mockery in his voice, and his eyes shone brightly. In this place, Lin Feng, am the rules. After saying that, he turned around and left. His bleak and thin figure made people's hearts palpitate. When the disciples of the martial school who were blocking the entrance saw Lin Feng walk over, they were immediately scared out of their wits. They crawled to the side on all fours and did not even dare to look at him. No one dared to speak, and no one dared to stop him. Creak! The heavy sound of the door opening was extremely loud in the quiet lobby. His identity was exposed? If he was exposed, then so be it. To Lin Feng, this was not a big problem. From the moment he knew that Wang Hao betrayed him, he knew that this was no longer secret. Since that was the case, there was no need to hide it. In the Qianwu continent, the strong would always stand at the top of the pyramid. Lin Feng was very clear that although there were many rules in the continent, in general, they could be summarized in one sentence. Whoever has the biggest fist is the boss. Villa, 6th floor of the training room. Ziyao said that as long as I reached the level of Emperor Wu, it would not matter if my identity as a fire spirit master was exposed. With this dragon egg, I believe that in less than half a month, I will be able to break through the bottleneck and advance to the level of Emperor Wu. Lin Feng's eyes shone brightly. He clenched his fists tightly. The rapid growth of his strength filled him with confidence. As long as he reached the level of Emperor Wu, the power of his primordial fire would be 3 levels higher than his body. In other words, his strength as a fire spirit master would be the peak of Emperor Wu. Under the titled martial god, there would be no need to fear. But why did they want to snatch the primordial fire seed? Could it be that it is the same as the fire spirit pill and the dragon egg? The primordial fire seed can be consumed? Lin Feng was slightly curious. He immediately shook his head and stopped thinking about it. Taking out the dragon egg, Lin Feng quickly began to train again. In an underground palace. It was dazzling and magnificent. According to what the king said, Black Snake's death was most likely caused by the fire god. Green Wood Dove nodded. There is nothing suspicious about the prey. It is impossible for a titled martial god to protect him. Greenwood Dove's eyes were cold and sharp. Not only did he cause me to lose 2 of my subordinates, he even caused me to pay a large sum of money. Don't think that I, Greenwood Dove, will take this lying down. Although the platinum disc flying device was expensive, Greenwood Dove's wealth was still within the acceptable range. The key point was face. In front of the king, he had lost all face. Wash your neck and wait for me. Greenwood Dove gritted his teeth. Unlike Black Snake, the name Greenwood was not something that could be casually obtained. Below the titled martial god, who was he afraid of? Early in the morning, a faint mist drifted, and the air was bright and fresh. Phew! Lin Feng exhaled deeply and slowly opened his eyes. His vision became clearer, and his body seemed to have an additional layer of texture. He stretched. Unknowingly, another night had passed. It's almost time. Lin Feng muttered to himself, his eyes shining. Today I must endure a few more seconds in the dark illusion than yesterday. With this thought in his heart, Lin Feng walked downstairs. In the hall on the 1st floor, Lin Feng looked over and saw that there were 3 more guests in the house. Qin Hua, Qin Lai, and Qin Rou, who was chatting happily with Shui Er. After pondering for a moment, Lin Feng's lips curled up indifferently, and he immediately knew what was going on. Brother Lin Feng. Qin Hua and Qin Lai greeted him with a smile. Sect leader, vice sect leader. Lin Feng nodded. What brings you here today? Brother, the 2 sect leaders have been waiting for you all night. Lin Shui Er blinked. Lin Feng smiled. Sorry, I was cultivating and forgot the time. It's okay, it's okay. Qin Hua and Qin Lai shook their heads, looking embarrassed. Qin Hua glanced at Qin Rou fiercely. Qin Rou immediately stuck out her tongue and said with a smile, Brother Lin Feng, father and second uncle had no choice. For Rou Er's sake, please forgive them. Yes, Lin Feng, yesterday's incident. Qin Hua quickly said. Yesterday, Lin Feng shrugged. What happened yesterday? I don't remember. When he saw Qin Hua and Qin Lai early in the morning, he already knew their purpose, to mend their relationship. In fact, he did not blame them. Whether they were humans or ghosts, whether they were real or fake, he could see clearly. Qin Hua did treat him well. You don't remember? Qin Lai was stunned. Qin Hua immediately laughed heartily. Yes, yes, brother Lin Feng, don't take this kind of small matter to heart. Thunderbolt Qin Hua, promise that there won't be a next time. Lin Feng nodded. I will remember this small kindness. Don't worry, sect leaders. Glancing at his sister, Lin Feng immediately smiled and said, Shoot, help me entertain the guests. I have something to do. After saying that, he left. Knock, knock. Lin Feng gently knocked on the door. Come in. A calm voice came, and Lin Feng opened the door. Father. Lin Feng called. Lin Xiaodian was drinking tea. Is it settled? Yes, father. Lin Feng did not hide and nodded. I expose my identity as a fire spirit master. Lin Xiaodian put down the teacup, paused, and said noncommittally, sometimes it's not a bad thing to show your strength appropriately. At least, it can save a lot of trouble. Lin Feng smiled. His father's thoughts were the same as his. In the Tianwu continent, only the strong would be respected and revered. This could be seen from the change in attitude of Qin Hua and Qin Lai towards him. Are you worried? Lin Xiaodian asked. Lin Feng was startled and immediately understood what his father was referring to. The primordial fire seed would attract warriors with ulterior motives. I'm not worried. Lin Feng shook his head and then asked curiously, but, Father, why is the primordial fire seed so profitable? Looking for recommendations, pre-order subscriptions, and monthly tickets, Xiao Xiao will continue to update steadily during the Spring Festival. Chapter 101. This question had been in Lin Feng's heart for a long time. The basics of Fire Spirit Masters had already mentioned it, but he still did not know the answer. It's very simple. Lin Xiaodian explained indifferently. A primordial fire seed can create a Fire Spirit Master. Of course, fusing with it is rather dangerous. In the Tianwu continent, this is a taboo, but it is not stopped. There will always be people who take the risk. I see. Lin Feng nodded in realization. To be able to turn a martial artist into a Fire Spirit Master. How attractive was this? Just like himself, although he was only an advanced martial grandmaster, the strength of a Fire Spirit Master was comparable to that of an advanced Emperor Wu. The difference of an entire rank. The difference was obvious. It's just an unorthodox method. Lin Xiaotian shook his head. This kind of acquired Fire Spirit Master, perhaps there is not much difference in the early stage, but after becoming a titled martial god, the gap between them and a Fire Spirit Master with a strong innate soul will only increase. Lin Feng smiled helplessly. Even if there was a gap, it was still a matter of titled martial gods. How many titled martial gods could there be in the Tianwu continent? Coming out of his father's room, Lin Feng looked around. Qin Hua and Qin Lai had already left, but there were two more people. He did not know the two, but they were passers-by that he had met once. It's you two? Lin Feng said softly. One of them was the young miss that he had met in the Chen Manor that day. The other was the middle-aged man that he had met at the arbitration center last night. He stood with Wang Jin and Sun Xing, but did not say a word from beginning to end. Hello, Brother Lin, Brother Chun. I have specially brought my daughter here to apologize. Chunyu revealed a sincere smile. I'm sorry, Senior. Chen Xingya's face was pale. She lowered her head and bit her lips. Lin Feng sighed softly in his heart and immediately understood. As a matter of fact, he never blamed this eldest young miss. Wang Hao's mistake had nothing to do with her. Strictly speaking, he had barged into the Chun clan, injured her guards, and killed her lover. It was only right that she hated herself. If there's nothing else, then leave. Lin Feng's indifferent words startled the father and daughter pair. Brother Lin, Chun Yu said anxiously, but Lin Feng raised his hand and interrupted him. This has nothing to do with you. Chun Yu and his daughter were indeed undeserved disasters. Huff, Chun Yu let out a long sigh of relief, and then he revealed a wisp of a smile and snapped his fingers. Suddenly, many servants rushed in from outside the door, carrying chests, gift boxes, and other items. One by one, Lin Feng snorted softly. "It's just a small gift for me. Please accept it, Brother Lin." Chun Yu bowed. Lin Feng nodded. "Thank you." Since he had the heart, it would be too unreasonable to refuse. Very quickly, the small mountain of gifts filled up a corner of the hall. Lin Wanqing and Lin Shui were speechless as they watched from the side. Chun Yu took out a gold card and handed it over with both hands. "Here's 100,000 Tianwu coins. Please accept it, Brother Lin." 100,000 Tianwu coins? Lin Wanqing and Lin Shui were stunned and looked at each other. Oh, Lin Feng was also surprised. He looked at the smiling middle-aged man in front of him and understood that he wanted to befriend him. Lin Feng didn't hesitate and took the gold card. It would be a waste if he didn't take it. He was really short on money. He had countless fire spiritual pills and precious materials from fire spiritual beasts. But he couldn't let them see the light of day. Other than the 30,000 Tianwu coins he got from Wang Xianglong, he only had 9,350 Tianwu coins left in his hunter card and the whalebone skin and rhinoceros horn he sold for points. The total was 67,850 Tianwu coins. With this wealth, he was definitely one of the best among high-level martial grandmasters. He was pitifully poor. Seeing Lin Feng take the gold card, Chun Yu smiled and said, "Thank you for thinking so highly of me, Brother Lin. I'm just a businessman, but I know a lot of people. In Cloud Sun City, if Brother Lin has any small matters, just tell me, and I'll do it for you." "Wow, your boss, Chin?" Lin Shui exclaimed. Chun Yu raised his eyebrows and bowed with a smile. "That's me." Lin Shui bit her lips and ran to Lin Feng's side and whispered, "That's great." Lin Feng listened and nodded with a smile. He looked at Chun Yu and said, "My sister is interested in business. I wonder if Boss Chun would be willing to take her as an apprentice?" Chun Yu's eyes lit up. He nodded as if he was afraid that Lin Feng would go back on his word. "Of course, why wouldn't I? I couldn't ask for more." "Huh." Chun Yu laughed. He was already satisfied with Lin Feng's forgiveness. He didn't expect that he would be able to climb up a big tree like Lin Feng. It was like a pie falling from the sky. Lin Feng smiled. He didn't have any deep grudges with Chun Yu. As the saying goes, one doesn't hit a smiling person. Although Chun Yu was a businessman who only cared about profits, he had a wide network. There were only benefits to befriending him. Moreover, his sister wanted to go into business and needed a mentor. At night, the family gathered together. "Brother, do you know that Boss Chun is so amazing?" Shui Er's eyes lit up. He started from scratch and abandoned martial arts to go into business. He's already one of the 3 richest people in the city at the age of 40. He doesn't have any background at all. It's great to be able to learn from him. Then you have to learn well, Lin Feng said with a smile. After you learn well, you'll have to take care of Big Brother's money. Lin Yin couldn't help but smile. Then, won't our whole family have to eat the northwest wind? Second brother, Shui said coquettishly, causing everyone to laugh. By the way, butler. Lin Feng looked over. The butler immediately bowed and said, "Young master, do you have any instructions?" Lin Feng said slowly, "From tomorrow onwards, reject all visits and gifts. Tell others that I'm not here. Do you understand?" "Yes, young master." The butler left. Lin Feng sighed softly. He looked at the mountainous pile of gifts in the hall and couldn't help but be dazed. There was no such thing as an airtight wall in the world. Not to mention, there were hundreds of cultivators who witnessed his strength at the arbitration court that day. After Chun Yu, there was an endless stream of visitors. The doorstep of his house was almost broken by the number of visitors. "Brother, you're going into seclusion again?" Lin Yun asked. "Yes." Lin Feng nodded. To him, the growth of his strength was the most important thing. Lin Feng deeply understood that only with enough strength could he control his own destiny. "Then, brother, You won't be able to see Sister Chinro, right? Shui covered her mouth and chuckled. Chinro? Lin Feng was startled and looked at his sister. What does my seclusion have to do with seeing Chinro? Brother, don't you know that Sister Chinro likes you? Shui asked in surprise. Impossible. Lin Feng shook his head. It's true, brother. In the underground palace, Greenwood Dove was sitting on the golden dragon throne, playing with the thumb ring in his hand. Captain, a slender purple figure suddenly appeared. Speak, Zilwan. Greenwood Dove's face was cold as he said solemnly. Captain, the prey has revealed his secret as a fire spiritual master. Zilwan's voice was soft. This kid is not stupid. He knows how to use the Scorching Sun sect to protect himself. Greenwood Dove nodded and waved his hand. Continue to monitor him. I don't believe he won't go to the endless wilderness. Yes, Captain. Zilwan disappeared in an instant. Greenwood Dove pulled the thumb ring in his hand and showed a disdainful expression. You think you'll be safe with the Scorching Sun sect's protection? You're too naive. If it weren't for the king's order not to act in a high-profile manner, a mere Firmament city would be nothing. I'll let you live for a few more days. Greenwood Dove's eyes were cold and fierce. Lin Feng was in seclusion. Merchants came to deliver gifts, but he was not there. Experts from the martial arts sect came to make friends, but he was not there. The Scorching Sun sect's manager came, and Qin Hua and Qin Lai followed behind him like little brothers. He was still not there. The days passed one by one. Lin Feng's life was dull and monotonous, but his strength seemed to be climbing a towering ladder. One step, one step. His improvement was quite steady. On the third day, his body strength broke through 128 titanium, and he was the first to reach the standard of a beginner Emperor Wu. On the fifth day, his speed broke through 1,600 meters per second, also reaching the standard of a beginner Emperor Wu. In the blink of an eye, 10 days had passed. With the help of the dragon egg liquid, even his weakest strength reached 75,000 kilograms. He was only 5,000 kilograms away from the standard of a beginner Emperor Wu. A fine line. Based on this speed, 2 more days will be enough. Lin Feng's excitement was laced with anticipation. He had been waiting for this moment for a very, very long time. Continue. Lin Feng took a deep breath, and his eyes lit up. Lin Feng gently poured the liquid from the dragon egg into his mouth through the tiny gap, but he didn't realize that there was already very little of the transparent liquid left. At this moment, the red light hidden within slowly flowed out and fell into his mouth. Frowning slightly, Lin Feng only felt a slight burning sensation, but he did not pay too much attention to it. Gulp. He swallowed the liquid in one gulp. In an instant, something strange happened. It's almost New Year's Eve. I wish everyone a happy New Year in advance. May your family be healthy and happy. Xiao Xiao's New Year is really giving her a headache. Although she has to visit relatives and friends, don't worry. 2 updates will definitely not be missing. From the 7th day of the new year onwards, 3 updates will be resumed. This is Xiao Xiao's first full-time novel, and she relies on this to make a living. You don't have to worry about the number of updates. From March onwards, more than 9,000 words per day will be released at irregular intervals. You won't be disappointed. If you like it and support it, please, you must definitely subscribe to support Xiao Xiao. Thank you. Oh, __intersection. Oh. Chapter 102. To be honest, Xiao Xiao's heart was really uneasy. This was really the first time she was writing a book full-time. There were so many things she wanted to say to you, but 2 words could sum it all up. Subscribe. Brothers, sisters, and fellow villagers, if you support Xiao Xiao, I hope that you can subscribe to support her. Sincerely. 2 cents per 1,000 words, 3 cents per 1,000 words. You might not even notice a cent dropping on the ground, but to Xiao Xiao, this was a tool for her to make a living in the future. The more people subscribed, the more Xiao Xiao would update. Actually, this was a very good, virtuous cycle. The pressure was really great. Be it Legends of Alternate Worlds or Endless Evil, they had never felt like this before. At that time, Xiao Xiao was just doing a part-time job, and her updates were often unstable. But now, fire smelting the starry sky was truly a full-time job. She was wholeheartedly dedicated to it, spending all her time and energy on it. The number of words she updated would definitely satisfy everyone. Since Xiao Xiao was going to rely on this to make a living, she would definitely not be lazy or find excuses. Because I have to raise a family. This is my responsibility. Just like Lin Feng in the book, I think that a man must have a sense of responsibility. I don't know if I have the potential, but I will work hard. I will make up for my lack of talent with diligence. I believe in this saying. Talent determines the upper limit, and hard work determines the lower limit. Heaven rewards the diligent. All right, another 400 words were written in a long and tiresome manner. I hope that you can continue to support Xiao Xiao and accompany fire smelting the starry sky to break through 3 million words, for million words, 5 million words. Finally, I beg for monthly votes, recommendations, and rewards. Most importantly, please subscribe. Thank you. I wish everyone good health and good luck in everything. I wish you a brand new 2013. Everything is heading towards a new beginning. Wishing everyone a happy new year. Chapter 103. It was as if a raging fire had ignited in his body. In a split second, Lin Feng's face was blood red. His hair and fingers cracked. His eyes were extremely wide open. Even the veins in his eyes could be seen clearly. What's going on? Lin Feng was scared out of his wits. In a split second, his whole body felt as if it was on fire. It was as if he was a broken training machine that was about to fall apart. Lin Feng was shocked to see that every inch of his skin had suddenly changed. It was flashing with a fiery red color, as if a layer of fiery red scales had condensed on his body. It was incomparably ferocious. Huh! Clenching his fists tightly, Lin Feng fiercely bit the tip of his tongue. The sharp pain woke him up abruptly. At this critical moment, Lin Feng displayed an extraordinary state of mind. Instantly, he sat cross-legged and closed his eyes. He forcibly stabilized his mind. His body was still trembling. At every moment, it was as if there was an endless power filling his skin. The pain reached his heart and lungs. At this moment, Lin Feng seemed to have returned to the illusory realm of darkness. The bone-deep tempering made him feel both familiar and unfamiliar. It's been a long time since I've tasted this kind of pain. Lin Feng clenched his teeth tightly. At this moment, he seemed to recall the intense pain in his lower abdomen in the past. It was exactly the same. No, it was 10 times, 100 times more intense. Boom! His head shook. Lin Feng came to a familiar place. That familiar fire lotus was still rotating. The purple flame in the center of the flower swayed gently, and the orange primordial fire mist surrounded the fire lotus. Compared to 10 days ago, the color of the fire lotus was much darker, adding a hazy sense of beauty. This fire lotus was originally the master of his body, but at this moment, a fiery red speck of light, which was like a star, emitted a dazzling light that covered everything. It's it. At this moment, Lin Feng came to a sudden realization. As far as his eyes could see, every time the fiery red light spot flashed, there would be countless sparkling stars scattered into every layer of his meridians and skin. However, it was far beyond what his body could bear. The cells continued to expand and expand, but they were unable to differentiate at all. Instead, they exploded in an instant. His meridians were ruptured by the powerful force, and even his blood flow was blocked. It was as if a group of incomparably terrifying bandits had appeared in his body, robbing him of all his belongings. If this goes on, I'll die. Lin Feng was very clear. This huge amount of energy would definitely cause his body to explode. What should we do? What do we do? His heart was burning with anxiety, but Lin Feng's mind was incomparably clear. At this time, his unswerving determination played a crucial role. Right soul power. Lin Feng's heart suddenly moved. The spirit was the soldier, and the soul was the general. Soul power was definitely capable of controlling this power. An invisible and powerful oppressive force appeared in an instant, as if a halo had enveloped the fiery red light. Instantly, the dazzling light was blocked. However, the light barrier formed from soul force was becoming weaker and weaker. Shit, Lin Feng was greatly shaken. Although his soul force had greatly increased, it couldn't withstand such consumption. He could completely imagine what would happen if the energy of this light barrier was destroyed. In other words, his soul force was completely exhausted. This fiery red light would continue to wreak havoc on his body, and, at that time, treating the symptoms but not the root cause. Lin Feng thought to himself, what should he do? Countless thoughts continuously emerged, and Lin Feng desperately tried to think of a solution. At this time, Lin Feng suddenly glanced at his body's current condition. Following the obstruction of the fiery red light, the energy of the star had weakened by a lot. The powerful energy that was originally enough to cause his cells to explode was now fused into his cells, as if it had been completely absorbed. It was the same for the other parts of his body. That's right. This fiery red light is also a part of the dragon egg. Lin Feng suddenly realized. Since this dragon egg could absorb the sparkling and translucent liquid, it could naturally absorb the fiery red light. However, one energy was thin, and the other energy robust and overbearing. There's a way. Lin Feng's heart trembled. Immediately, the soul force he was controlling weakened. At this time, the fiery red light was like a wild horse that had broken free of its reins. It radiated in all directions, causing the scattered stars to shine again. Pa! Pa! His cells continued to explode, and the meridians that had just been repaired were once again destroyed. It's weakened too much. Lin Feng hastily strengthened the light barrier. Instantly, the bright stars withered again. Too much. Too little. There's still a bit more. Slowly, under Lin Feng's control, the light barrier was gradually stabilized, and the strength of the bright star's energy was also stabilized. The scattered stars were like nimble groundhogs, scurrying around his body, fusing into every inch of his skin and every drop of blood. Faintly, Lin Feng actually saw a layer of fiery red film on his skin. Although he was curious, Lin Feng didn't pay too much attention to it. After all, there were too many strange things. For example, the bright stars like scurrying up his body, passing through the meridians in his arms and flowing around his body. However, when they went down to his legs, they didn't seem to like it that much. Time, minute by minute, second by second. His soul force gradually weakened, and his head felt dizzy. Lin Feng suddenly felt powerless. At this time, the fiery red light still had unlimited energy. Not to mention exhaustion, it didn't even show signs of weakening. What to do? If it was in the past, Lin Feng would definitely be at his wit's end. However, things were different now. His consciousness returned in an instant, and Lin Feng took out a fire spirit pill at lightning speed and bit it. Instantly, a warm current flowed through his body, and the powerful energy of heaven and earth seemed to be flowing into the sea, gathering in his mind. In an instant, Lin Feng's mind was clear, and his eyes shone brightly. The soul force that was almost exhausted was instantly replenished, and his spirit was incomparably uplifted. Not bad. Lin Feng revealed a smile. However, he didn't delay at all, and immediately entered the state of consciousness. Without the restraint of soul force, the fiery red light was like a fierce tiger that had escaped its cage, tearing his body black and blue. Again and again. Again and again. The cycle kept repeating, and his body underwent a transformation. His body was growing with every passing moment, and he was undergoing extreme transformations. As expected, opportunities and risks coexist. Lin Feng thought to himself. To Lin Feng, the rapid increase of his strength was something to be happy about. However, the consumption of the fire spirit pill was too shocking. One had to know that a Tier 8 Earth Spirit Pill was worth 50,000 Tianwu coins, and a Tier 7 Fire Spirit Pill was worth 10 times that. 500,000 Tianwu coins. However, in less than 15 minutes, a Tier 7 Fire Spirit Pill was forcefully eaten by him. Lin Feng's heart was bleeding. 4 hours. 8 hours. 16 hours. A full 2 days and 2 nights. Pah. The fiery red light used up its last bit of energy. Finally, it's over. Lin Feng's vision turned black, and he instantly regained his consciousness. However, a wave of intense dizziness came over his head, and when he fainted, his soul force was indeed constantly replenishing. However, this kind of replenishment was unavoidably tiring, especially during these 2 days and 2 nights. Lin Feng didn't relax for a second, and his nerves were completely tense. At every moment, he was not fighting with the fiery red light. After sleeping for an entire night, Lin Feng slowly woke up. Heavens! Lin Feng lay on the ground, looking up at the metal plate above, and revealed a bitter smile. This was definitely more difficult than any battle. Fortunately, I'm already used to the training in the dark illusion. Lin Feng sighed lightly. Otherwise, this kind of intensity, I really can't bear it. With both hands on the ground, Lin Feng was about to get up. Suddenly, his expression changed greatly. What's going on? Lin Feng's expression was aghast. He saw a layer of fiery red scales vaguely appearing on his arms, and they were tightly wrapped. Lin Feng looked at his body, and it was exactly the same as his arms. And even his legs, his entire body seemed to be covered with a layer of fiery red scales. Heavens! It can't be. Lin Feng was stunned. Didn't he become a monster? Coming back to his senses, Lin Feng couldn't help but lightly touch the fiery red scales, but strangely went straight through, as if it was just an illusion. What's going on? Lin Feng said softly. Inexplicably puzzled, Lin Feng touched his skin again, and the fiery red scales didn't seem to exist at all. Although they emitted a faint light, it was just a thin layer of illusion, and didn't have a real body at all like a shadow. Strange. Lin Feng muttered to himself. But I seem to have seen this fiery red scale somewhere before. With this thought in mind, Lin Feng suddenly clapped his hands and suddenly remembered. It's that black-winged flying dragon. No wonder it's so familiar. Lin Feng nodded and stood up. Clenching his fist, Lin Feng's eyes suddenly shone. The feeling of strength and power was completely different from before. My strength has significantly increased. Lin Feng was happy. Patting his chest lightly and feeling the different physique, Lin Feng couldn't help but laugh heartily. The strength of his body had also increased greatly. And at this time, the fire spirit pill, Lin Feng suddenly remembered and immediately opened the space of the fluorescent compass. But his expression changed, and he smiled bitterly. Originally, there were more than 100 fire spirit pills, but only 8 were left. 4 7th-grade fire spirit pills, 2 6th-grade fire spirit pills, 1 5th-grade fire spirit pill, and 1 4th-grade fire spirit pill. He was simply out of ammunition and food. How many Tianwu coins have I eaten in these 2 days and 2 nights? Lin Feng couldn't help but shake his head, but he didn't even dare to think about it. This was definitely an incomparably terrifying astronomical figure. Forget it anyway. It's a hot potato, and I can't sell it. Lin Feng smiled and comforted himself. At least good steel is used on the blade, and it's not a waste. If I can't keep my life, it's useless even if I have more money. Lin Feng secretly thought that he was lucky. If not for the fact that he had enough fire spirit pills, he would have been in trouble. Stretching his waist, Lin Feng couldn't help but reveal a trace of faint hope in his eyes. I wonder how my body is now. The first chapter of the New Year's EVIP chapter is quite auspicious. Hey, please subscribe, recommend, reward, monthly vote, update trailer. From New Year's Eve, that is from today until the 6th day of the new year, I will continue to maintain 2 updates a day, 0, 0, 0, and 12 o'clock. Brothers and sisters, during the new year, please be more tolerant. From the 7th day of the new year, I will guarantee 3 updates a day. From the 3rd month onwards, I will not go back on my words. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to Chidian. Come to vote for me. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 104. Training Room on the 4th floor. Lin Feng stood indifferently in front of the strength tester. Looking at the screen in front of him, he couldn't help but smile. Every single time, his strength would always be a hindrance. Bang! He casually threw a punch. Lin Feng's body didn't move at all. However, when he threw a punch, the light screen shook violently. Lin Feng's expression turned slightly cold. What a strange feeling. The number on the mirror kept jumping and suddenly stopped. 79900. Am I seeing things? Lin Feng was stunned. He had just casually thrown a punch. It didn't even have 80% of his strength. Yet, it was close to the standard of the beginner Emperor Wu, 80,000 Jin. Instantly, Lin Feng's eyes lit up. His body felt an inexplicable sense of excitement. Lin Feng moved his muscles. His eyes were burning with passion. At this moment, he really wanted to know what kind of frightening number his strength would reach if he threw a punch with all his strength. Closing his eyes, Lin Feng exhaled a long breath of turbid air. In a split second, he opened his eyes. Lin Feng moved, like a vicious tiger pouncing on its prey. His right foot stomped heavily on the ground. It was as if Mount Tai was pressing down. With a slight twist of his waist, his spine suddenly exerted force. In an instant, it penetrated through his spine and passed into his arm. Lin Feng's fist was like an arrow shot from a full moon bow. It left behind a series of afterimages. The sound of it breaking through the air was horrifying and mournful. Bang! The fist smashed into the transparent light screen like a meteor. What frightening strength! Lin Feng felt his hair stand on end. This kind of strength was definitely something he could only look up to in the past. Beep, beep, beep. 3 consecutive beeps sounded with a cheerful rhythm. However, the mirror panel didn't show any numbers. Lin Feng was stunned. Impossible. Exceeding the limit of this strength tester? At this moment, Lin Feng suddenly remembered the scene when he was preparing for the warrior assessment. It was so familiar. The past was like smoke, but it appeared in front of him again like a cycle. It was just that it was in a different way. The limit of this strength tester was 100,000 Jin, and the standard of the beginner Emperor Wu was only 80,000 Jin. What a shocking increase. Lin Feng took a while to regain his senses. He looked at his fists in disbelief. In just 2 days and nights, his strength went from 75,000 Jin to 100,000 Jin. It was simply suffocating. I wonder how much my speed and body strength have improved. Lin Feng was a little excited. Soon, the results: speed, 2,350 meters per second. Physical strength exceeded the test limit of the test limit. The increase of my speed of the speed of the speed. Lin Feng frowned slightly. 2 days ago, my speed had already reached 1,960 meters per second. Although the improvement is not small, compared to the improvement in strength, it is still too far away. Of the intermediate emperor, of the test emperors, the test limit of the physical strength tester is 200 titanium. Lin Feng murmured to himself. In the test 2 days ago, I already had 195 titanium. Even if I were to cultivate normally, it would be easy to exceed 200 titanium. However, after the improvement of my strength, it's easy to exceed 200 titanium. The increase in strength was shocking, but the increase in speed was small. It was quite strange. Who cares? No matter what. Lin Feng smiled and clenched his fists. He seemed to be able to feel the surging power. Now, I've been promoted to Emperor Wu. The goal he had been striving for had finally been achieved. Dad. Lin Feng pushed open the door. He had missed the appointment with his father every morning for 2 days. You're here? Lin Xiaodian looked at Lin Feng indifferently and saw the fiery red scale armor floating on his body. He couldn't help but smile. Feng, why don't you put away the illusion armor? Illusion armor? Lin Feng was stunned. When he saw his father's gaze, he suddenly understood. Dad! Lin Feng pointed at the fiery red scale armor and scratched his head. How do I put away this illusion armor? Use your heart to sense it, Lin Xiaotian said. Lin Feng nodded with a little doubt and immediately closed his eyes. Suddenly, he seemed to vaguely feel a wave of blood connection. Whoosh! The fiery red scale armor suddenly disappeared. It's amazing. Lin Feng looked at his hands and exclaimed. You're really bold, Feng. Lin Xiaotian smiled indifferently. There was no blame in his tone. You even dare to swallow the dragon essence. Aren't you afraid that your body will explode? Lin Feng smiled bitterly, but he had to suffer in silence. When had he ever thought of swallowing it? Instead, he had accidentally made a huge mistake. In the end, even the fire spirit pill was almost exhausted. Dad, what is this dragon essence? Lin Feng asked curiously. Dragon essence, as the name suggests, is the essence of a dragon. Seeing Lin Feng nod, Lin Xiaotian continued. Although that black-winged flying dragon is not a real dragon, it still has the blood of a dragon. This little bit of blood is the essence of a dragon, also known as dragon essence. Lin Feng was shocked. After all this time, what he absorbed was actually the blood of a dragon. Dragon essence can only be obtained from a real dragon. Lin Xiaotian said slowly. But I think that black-winged flying dragon must have known that it had no hope of advancing, so it left the dragon essence to her child. After going around in circles, it actually made a wedding dress for you, Feng. I see. Lin Feng understood. This dragon essence was left behind by the dragon egg by the black-winged flying dragon. Dad, why did my strength increase greatly after I absorbed the dragon essence, but my speed only increased slightly? Lin Feng asked doubtfully. Lin Xiaotian smiled indifferently. It's very simple, because the black-winged flying dragon is known for its strength, but its speed is not outstanding. I see. Lin Feng immediately understood. Just like inheritance, the dragon essence left behind by the black-winged flying dragon to the next generation was naturally the same. Then Dad, what is the illusory armor? Lin Feng asked again. The illusory armor is born from the essence of a magical beast and combined with a warrior. Lin Xiaotian explained. You can understand it as a type of defensive equipment, but compared to defensive equipment, the illusory armor has a stronger defensive power, extensibility, controllability, and so on. Most importantly, the illusory armor has the same defensive power as the original magical beast. So powerful. Lin Feng was shocked. Defensive equipment was made from the materials of magical beasts. Some had high defensive power, some had good flexibility, and some were comfortable to wear. But there were always shortcomings. And the illusory armor was obviously the perfect version of defensive equipment. All defensive equipment was made from the fur of magical beasts of a grade higher, and their defensive power was a grade lower. For example, the White Nightmare armor sewn by the beginner beast general White Nightmare Fox only had the defensive power of a high-grade beast weapon, and the defensive equipment made from the materials of a high-grade giant beast lord was at most an 8-star defensive equipment. But now, it was equivalent to adding a full set of 9-star defensive equipment. I now have a defensive power of a black-winged flying dragon. Lin Feng was a little in disbelief. Any dragon had a relatively strong defensive power. He turned on the fluorescent compass, and suddenly, beep, 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 there was a burst of dense information. Lin Feng focused his eyes, and the corners of his mouth curled up slightly as he smiled. As expected, it's the sect leader. He learned from the housekeeper that a very important person had come while he was in seclusion. The manager of the Scorching Sun sect. No matter what, I'll go and meet him, Lin Feng murmured. Immediately, he stepped onto the teleportation array. Firmament Sun Martial Sect, Firmament Hall. In this room with the highest treatment and status, a man in a long robe sat with a cold expression. Swift Fire Leopard Zhong Liang. Middle grade Emperor Wu, the Scorching Sun sect's manager. Not only was his strength impressive, but he also had considerable power. At this moment, Swift Fire Leopard, Zhong Liang was scolding Qin Hua without giving him any face. Since you discovered a fire spiritual master, why didn't you inform me earlier? Qin Hua's ice-cold eyes contained an intense deterrence. However, Qin Hua was unable to voice out his bitterness. Lin Feng was a reserve member of the hunt and obviously would not join the Scorching Sun sect. But if he said it, wouldn't he offend Ziyao? This Lin Feng is so arrogant because of his ability that I have to wait for him time and time again. Swift Fire Leopard, Zhong Liang frowned deeply and snorted coldly. It was not because he was impatient, but because he could not keep his face. He, Swift Fire Leopard, Zhong Liang, was famous and was the Scorching Sun sect's manager. It had always been others waiting for him, not him. Last time, when he treated the wise and treated the wise, he did not expect to be solidly shut in the door. Suddenly, with a click, the door was pushed open. A young man in loose martial attire stepped in. It was Lin Feng. This kid is not even wearing formal attire. Qin Hua felt a drop of cold sweat seeping out his forehead. Greetings, sect leader, manager. Lin Feng smiled and nodded. You are Lin Feng? Swift Fire Leopard, Zhong Liang sized up Lin Feng, a sharp light shooting out his eyes. Lin Feng looked at Zhong Liang calmly and smiled. Indifferent. This level of deterrence was child's play to him. Yes, manager. Lin Feng replied. Swift Fire Leopard, Zhong Liang saw Lin Feng's calm and composed expression and felt that he was inexplicably shorter. He suddenly thought of the closed door he got the other day and was instantly angry. If I don't teach him a lesson, he will really climb to the sky. Zhong Liang snorted coldly, his voice resounding in everyone's ears. Qin Hua's expression immediately changed. Zhong Liang's entire body emitted a strong aura. His long robe puffed up, and a strong sense of suffocation pressed down on Lin Feng. A show of strength? Lin Feng smiled indifferently. His body could vaguely feel Zhong Liang's aura, but compared to the shocking pressure in the illusory realm of darkness, it was not worth mentioning. Lin Feng's eyes flashed. His pupils were pitch black and bright as they shot straight into Zhong Liang's eyes. In an instant, a strong burst of soul power. Boom! Zhong Liang felt his mind shake violently, his body petrified in an instant. The feeling of suffocation hit him head-on, and the intense pressure made him feel like he was trapped in a cage. Zhong Liang's face was filled with shock. He hurriedly tried to break free, but suddenly, the terrifying pressure dissipated. Looking in front of him in shock, Zhong Liang saw Lin Feng's indifferent smile. No, impossible. Zhong Liang's heart was filled with shock. Lin Feng looked indifferently at Zhong Liang. If someone approaches me by 1 foot, I will approach them by 10 feet. Cough, cough. Zhong Liang's expression changed instantly, and he coughed a few times to hide his embarrassment. At this moment, he finally understood that this little guy in front of him was not someone he could provoke. Forcing a smile, Zhong Liang said, "It's like this. I heard that a fire spirit master appeared in Sky Sun City. The general director specially ordered me to confirm it and invite Lin Feng to join the Scorching Sun sect. Don't worry, my Scorching Sun sect will definitely give you the best treatment and conditions. The best." Zhong Liang said happily. Listening to the words beside his ear, Lin Feng stood with a faint smile. No matter what Zhong Liang said, no matter what kind of treatment the Scorching Sun sect gave him, it was no longer important. At this moment, there was nothing else in his mind. "Supervisor, I have already joined the hunt," Lin Feng said with a smile. As soon as his indifferent voice fell, Lin Feng immediately turned and left. Zhong Liang was left dumbfounded, his mouth agape. The 5th episode, which is also the first chapter, ends. Subscription, monthly votes, recommendations, rewards. Thank you, everyone. I wish everyone a happy new year and all the best, Carrot. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to Chidian. Come to vote for me. Your support is my greatest motivation. Chapter 105. To become an official member of the hunt, you must fulfill two conditions. First, you must reach the level of Emperor Wu. Second, you must become a 7-star hunter. Lin Feng calmly walked into the hunter organization. At this moment, the hunter mission hall on the first floor was filled with people. Just like what Brother Bull said, people would get lost if they entered. But now, as his strength and soul power increased, regardless of whether it was his vision or hearing, it was no longer the same as before. Hunters were divided into 1 to 10 stars, which represented the true strength of a hunter. Some warriors soaked in the nourishing pool since young and consumed elixirs and herbs. Although their physique was strong, their battle strength was extremely weak. And some warriors danced on the edge of a blade, mingling on the edge of death. Their true strength far exceeded their own level. This was the origin of the Hunter Star. It reflected the warrior's battle strength. In fact, compared to the level of strength, the Hunter team valued the Hunter Star more. Becoming a 7-star hunter meant that the warrior had the strength to kill a horde leader. The highest level, a 10-star hunter, meant that the warrior had the strength to kill a king-level demon beast. And in the history of Tianwu continent, there was an unsurpassed legend, an existence that surpassed the 10-star hunter, hunting god, heaven-breaking martial god Zhan Patian. A huge screen hung in the air, constantly scrolling with various commissions, bounty missions, and information and rankings of various hunting teams. Around it, the mission hall staff carefully accepted the commissions and dealt with the rewards for completing the missions. In the hunter mission hall, most of the items were machines that shone like stars. There was one every 10 meters. They were shaped like stars and were extremely beautiful. This is the star screen? Lin Feng was surprised. In front of his eyes, 10 dim stars formed a triangular shape with distinct corners. Taking out the black hunter card, Lin Feng seemed to skillfully insert it into the only slot. Hua. The dim star at the bottom left corner suddenly lit up. 1 star represented a 1-star hunter. Hey look, it's another young master. Wearing 4 layers of titanium energy suit and carrying the blazing iron soaring dragon spear. TSK, how extravagant. Are you jealous? Huh? Lin Feng turned a deaf ear to the mocking voice that came from behind him. He didn't care about such senseless people. It was like hearing a pack of wild dogs barking. However, there were very few 1-star hunters in Firmament City. What do we do next? Lin Feng was stunned. Right at this moment, Lin Feng's face slightly changed. He turned around and saw a beautiful girl with crescent-shaped eyes that seemed to be able to release electricity. She charmingly smiled at him. Hello, little handsome brother. Look. The little fox demon is on the move again. No. Lin Feng couldn't help but smile. I don't seem to have anything to do with the word handsome, right? Hello. Lin Feng nodded and responded politely. The beautiful girl's eyes flashed with surprise. Her smile suddenly became more charming. She gently approached Lin Feng and said in a coquettish voice, Little handsome brother. Lin Feng slightly frowned. His right shoulder shook. Suddenly, bang! A burst of energy exploded. The beautiful girl's face changed. She felt a burst of pressure in her chest and quickly stepped back. I don't like people to get too close to me. Lin Feng's voice was natural and calm. He calmly said, especially strangers. The beautiful girl's eyes flashed with jealousy and hatred. But how could it escape Lin Feng's eyes? The beautiful girl gently bit her lips and forced a smile. I just feel that we are fated to be friends. Lin Feng indifferently smiled, but I have no interest in you at all. As soon as his voice fell, there was a burst of wanton laughter. The beautiful girl's face instantly turned red. She was so angry that her lungs were about to explode. She, the dignified little fox demon, had never suffered such humiliation. Glaring at Lin Feng, the little fox's eyes were filled with hatred. She snorted angrily, stomped her feet, and left. Ha! The little fox demon Qian Rume has hit an iron plate this time. Hey, isn't she just relying on her beauty? Does she think that every young master is so easy to deceive? Lin Feng lightly wiped the corner of his mouth when he heard the idle chatter. He had guessed correctly. This beautiful girl with a nickname, Little Fox Demon, had a lot of bad records. Lin Feng lightly smiled and said, "Unfortunately, compared to Sister Qian, she is one level lower." Compared to Xiao, Lin Feng immediately shook his head. The gap between them was extraordinarily large. "I have to speed up to become a 7-star hunter." Lin Feng collected his thoughts. The faster he became a 7-star hunter, the earlier he could join the hunt and become an official member. However, looking at the star screen in front of him, which was still stuck at the initial interface, Lin Feng felt that he did not know where to start. Regarding this, he was indeed not proficient. Suddenly, "Do you need help?" A clear voice sounded. Lin Feng softly replied and looked back. It was a delicate and pretty girl who was about the same age as him. Her big eyes were crystal clear and bright. She had bangs and short hair, looking very valiant and formidable. Although she did not put on any rouge and looked a little immature in Lin Feng's eyes, compared to the little fox demon just now, she was even more beautiful. "Yes." Lin Feng pointed at the star screen. "I want to accept a star-level mission." He really did not know how to do it. "Just press here." The delicate and pretty girl pointed with her slender finger. Lin Feng looked over and nodded. He gently pressed on the corner of the star screen. As expected, the screen shook, and suddenly 9 rectangular buttons appeared vertically in a row. There was a star-shaped symbol on each button. There was a minimum of 1 star and a maximum of 9 stars. They were arranged from top to bottom. "Thank you." Lin Feng smiled. "It's nothing." The delicate and pretty girl replied with a smile. "I'm Qin Ling. What about you?" Lin Feng. Lin Feng nodded and looked at the star screen. Just as he was about to press the 7th button that represented the 7-star mission, he saw that out of the 9 rectangular buttons, only the first one lit up. The other 8 were dim. He could not help but let out a soft eh. He tried to press the dim buttons. As expected, there was no reaction at all. It was like a stone sinking into the sea. Qin Ling chuckled, "Of course not. Big brother Lin Feng, you're only a 1-star hunter. You can only accept 1-star missions. You'll only be able to accept the 2-star hunter leveling up test after you've earned enough points. You'll only be a 2-star hunter after you pass it." "It's so troublesome," Lin Feng muttered to himself. If that was the case, he would have to become a 6-star hunter first to become a 7-star hunter. If he wanted to become a 5-star hunter, he would have to become a 4-star hunter first. "I'll have to complete enough star missions before I can complete the leveling up test," Lin Feng thought to himself. "How long would it take to complete this step by step? I'm tired just thinking about it." Lin Feng sighed softly. Qin Ling's eyes sparkled when she saw the change in Lin Feng's expression. Big brother Lin Feng must want to become a 4-star hunter directly. Hunters naturally had good eyesight. Qin Ling quickly deduced Lin Feng's strength when she saw him wearing a 4-layer titanium energy suit and carrying the blazing iron soaring dragon spear on his back. However, she was obviously deceived by Lin Feng's appearance. "Big brother Lin Feng, there's actually a way to quickly increase your star level," Qin Ling said with a smile. "Oh." Lin Feng's interest was immediately piqued. It would be too much of a waste of time if he had to complete the newbie missions one by one, such as hunting elementary bee soldiers like the 6-legged cat and the saber-toothed hound. Qin Ling stretched out her white wrist and lightly touched the bottom left corner of the star. Instantly, the screen changed as if it was flipping pages. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. He saw scrolling information appear one after another, constantly updating and landing before his eyes. Huaiyang County, Mir City, Little Mir Town. Danger level, level 8. Qingcheng County, Qingmong City, Qinglu Town. Danger level, level 7. Blazing Sun County, Kunyan City, Wu Town. Danger level, level 5. "What's this?" Lin Feng asked curiously. "The Beast Riot Mission." Qin Ling nodded lightly and stretched out her orchid-like little finger. "In front is the area where the Beast Riot is happening. Behind it is the danger level. The highest is level 9 and the lowest is level 1. As she spoke, the danger level of Qinglu Town, which was originally level 7, suddenly changed to level 6. What's going on? Lin Feng let out a soft cry of surprise. Qin Ling explained with a smile. This means that the human warriors have already gained the upper hand in the Beast Riot mission. I see. Lin Feng immediately understood. The Beast Riot mission is the only mission that doesn't require the star level of the hunter level. You can proceed after accepting the mission. Qin Ling nodded and said, using the strength of the magical beasts as the benchmark, you could directly obtain level up points. As long as you accumulate enough points, you can increase your star level. That's not bad. Lin Feng smiled. Compared to completing missions of various stars, this was obviously more suitable for him. Since the Beast Riot mission started, Lin Feng calculated and said calmly, it's been more than 4 months. According to Xiao, this should be the early stage. It'll take about a year before King-level magical beasts participate in the battle and enter the middle stage. As he thought to himself, a new message suddenly appeared. Lin Feng let out a cry of surprise, and his eyes lit up. Blazing Sun County, Cloud, Sun City, Chihuahua Town. Danger level, unknown. With some curiosity, Lin Feng lightly tapped on it. In an instant, a familiar coordinate imprinted in front of him. This is the area where the Beast Riot mission just happened, Big Brother Lin Feng. Qin Ling pointed with her slender finger. Look, it's an arrow marked with an unknown danger level. If you accept the mission and enter the area now, you'll be rewarded with twice the points. However, the unknown danger level is too dangerous. As she spoke, Qin Ling couldn't help but glance at Lin Feng. Lin Feng smiled slightly. How could he not understand what Qin Ling meant? The unknown danger level could be level 3, level 4, or even level 7 or level 8. Many unknown accidents could happen at any time. But so what? I'll take this. Under Qin Ling's surprised gaze, Lin Feng gently pressed the accept mission button. Beep. A long sound rang out. The mission began. It's the first day of a new year. Xiao Xiao wishes everyone here that your wishes will come true in 2013. Be happy, and be in good health. To be continued. If you like this work, you're welcome to come to Qidian. Come to vote for me. Your support is my greatest motivation. Chapter 106. Thank you. Qin Ling. Lin Feng smiled as he took back the hunter card. If not for the help of this warm-hearted girl, he would have wasted a lot of time. Big Brother Lin Feng, is this your first time participating in the Beast Riot? Qin Ling asked curiously. Yes. Lin Feng nodded lightly. Aren't you afraid? Qin Ling asked softly. She bit her lip as if she had thought of something. That's a real war. Tens of thousands of demonic beasts come in groups, covering the sky and earth. Their roars are enough to scare a timid person to death. Furthermore, the death rate of a Beast Riot is extremely high. There was no need for a star-level restriction, but the rewards were considerable. Without a doubt, this special mission was extremely dangerous and terrifying. Fortune and misfortune came hand in hand. Lin Feng shook his head and smiled indifferently. If I'm afraid, how can I protect those who need my protection? After saying that, Lin Feng turned and left. Qin Ling was instantly shocked. She looked at Lin Feng's frail back, but he had an admirable courage and responsibility. Her heart was in turmoil, and she could not calm down for a long time. As a martial artist, I should protect humans and protect my home. Qin Ling nodded vigorously. I also want to be like Big Brother Lin Feng and protect those ordinary humans who need my protection. Qin Ling's thoughts inadvertently went astray again. Lin Feng and Qin Ling chatted from time to time as they walked together in the Hunter Mission Hall. I see. Lin Feng was enlightened. The Beast Riot in each area was an extremely large mission, and the Tianwu army was in charge of coordinating and commanding it. Once they accepted the mission and entered the area, unless the Beast Riot in the area completely retreated, they could enter but not leave. Indeed, this is better, Lin Feng thought to himself. Only with organization and cohesion could the hunters, who were scattered like sand, gather together and display their greatest strength to resist the demonic beasts. From Qin Ling, he learned a lot about the beast riot, as well as some of the things that had happened in the Tianwu continent over the past 4 months. Hunters walked on the edge of the cliff all day long, so they were very well informed. Big Brother Lin Feng, did you know that the beast's rampage this time wasn't only at level 5, but level 6? Qin Ling covered her mouth and whispered, "Is that so?" Lin Feng smiled. How could he not know? Even though it was announced to the public that it was a level 5, level 6 beast riot, but that was only to deceive ordinary people. Some experienced hunters might have already known about it. Qin Ling whispered, "I heard from Sister Wan that it's a 7th grade beast riot." Lin Feng's eyes flickered and he smiled noncommittally. "I hope so." Hope? Qin Ling felt dizzy. Lin Feng smiled and did not explain. He passed through the long corridor and quickly entered the range of the teleportation array. At this moment, a beautiful woman in purple tight-fitting clothes suddenly appeared in front of them. Her tall figure and beautiful face attracted the attention of the surrounding warriors. "Sister Ruan," Qin Ling shouted happily. Lin Feng gave a soft "oh." Clearly, this woman in purple was the Sister Ruan that Qin Ling had mentioned to him earlier. "Ruanzi, you, why are you so willful?" Ruanzi frowned and scolded softly. Qin Ling stuck out her tongue and blushed as if she was a child who had done something wrong. Ruanzi glanced at Lin Feng and then looked at Qin Ling. She paused and sighed helplessly. "Let's go. It's a big loss to cancel the mission after accepting it." Qin Ling was so happy that she jumped. Sister Ruan is the best. With an indifferent smile, Lin Feng quickly followed after him. Under Ruanzi's lead, they soon found the special teleportation array. Taking out the hunter card, Ruanzi glanced at Lin Feng and then at Qin Ling. Because of the Beast Riot mission, the coordinates of the target area have been locked. Now, you can enter but not leave. She put the hunter card in the slot of the teleportation array. Suddenly, there was a flash of light. Ruanzi nodded. "You can only enter if you accept the mission." Lin Feng gave a soft to show that he understood. As Ruanzi and Qin Ling disappeared, Lin Feng also put the hunter card in. Suddenly, the teleportation array lit up with a bright white light. Lin Feng skillfully entered the coordinates in his memory. He couldn't help but let out a long sigh of relief. After a long time, no one came. Lin Family Village teleportation array. Whoosh, whoosh. Flashes of white light appeared. Warriors who were rarely seen arrived one after another. Many of the clansmen around the teleportation formation were discussing animatedly. They raised their heads and looked up, admiring these existences that they could only hope to see but could not reach. Whoosh! Another flash of white light appeared. Returning to his hometown, Lin Feng looked around, his heart filled with emotions. He remembered that half a year ago, he was still here worrying about whether he could pass the test. He was also worried about the safety of his family. And now, everything was like a dream. "Clan leader?" Someone in the crowd shouted. "Am I seeing things? It's really the clan leader. It's clan leader Lin Feng. It must be. Hi, watch him grow up." Listening to the voices around him, Lin Feng turned his head and saw familiar faces. He couldn't help but smile and nod. His identity was different now. "Brother Lin Feng, are they calling you?" Qin Ling widened her eyes in confusion. Lin Feng replied softly, "This is my hometown. No wonder." Qin Ling covered her mouth and exclaimed. Lin Feng smiled. Indeed, there was a reason why he accepted this mission. However, even if he wasn't the clan leader now, he would still help the Lin family village if it was within his power to do so. After all, he grew up on this land. A little kid wants to be the clan leader? Ha ha ha. Not far away, there was a burst of unrestrained laughter. Lin Feng looked over and saw a bald man holding a giant axe looking at him with a sneer. Beside him stood a familiar figure. Little fox demon, Rume. "Let's go," Lin Feng said to Ruanzi and Qin Ling. Just by looking at the way Rume looked at him, He could vaguely guess what had happened. Brother Lin Feng, that little fox demon was rejected by you in front of everyone. She definitely won't let this go. Qinling whispered in his ear. Although I don't know that Baldy, he is definitely not simple. You have to be careful. Mad Bull Changhan's Han, an intermediate martial grandmaster with the strength of a 6-star hunter. Ruanzi shook her head. This person is famous for being crazy. Don't provoke him. Lin Feng laughed softly and calmly walked forward. Provoke him? Wouldn't he be lowering his status? TSK, cowardly bandits. Mad Bull Changhan's Han snorted in disdain. The giant axe in his hand slammed into the ground. With a rumbling sound, the mountain shook. The surrounding Lin family village villagers who were watching the commotion were thrown off their feet. Lin Feng frowned slightly. The clan leader is trash. The villagers are even more trash among trash. Ha! Mad Bull Changhan's Han laughed wildly. He looked at the cute little fox demon, Qian Rumei, and shouted heroically. The giant axe in his hand slashed out with a powerful force. Boom! Not far away, a wooden house suddenly collapsed. Broken pieces of wood flew everywhere. Instantly, miserable cries could be heard. Although they were only scratched or hit by the broken pieces of wood, the Lin family villagers were only ordinary people. How could they withstand such an attack? Brother Shan, you are so powerful, little fox demon, Qian Rumei said coquettishly. In an instant, Mad Bull Changhan's Han puffed out his chest proudly. However, a shrill sound broke through the air. Mad Bull Changhanshan's eyes lit up and his expression changed. Although he didn't know what was flying towards him, he instinctively wanted to avoid it. However, the speed of the light was too fast. Chi! A sharp pain came from his wrist. Mad Bull Changhanshan's expression changed. He looked at the bloody wound. The pain penetrated his heart and lungs. Lin Feng calmly stood in place. His eyes flickered. His right hand sucked, and in an instant a small stone appeared in his hand. At this moment, Mad Bull Changhan's Han saw Lin Feng and immediately flew into a rage. Damn it, you little bastard. You dare to sneak attack me. Sneak attack? Lin Feng sneered. The stone in his right hand suddenly flashed with an orange light. Control of primordial fire, 4th stage, adept fire. After 10 days of closed-door cultivation at home, coupled with the great increase in soul power from the realm of darkness, not only did his control of primordial fire soar, even the power of the primordial fire increased. The orange light became darker, and the purity of the primordial fire increased. Adept fire allowed the primordial fire to be attached to weapons, such as spears, arrows, throwing knives, etc. Even an unremarkable stone could be attached with primordial fire. Although it was only a little, it was already enough. Pong! The small stone struck Mad Bull Changhanshan's palm. Immediately, a heart-wrenching howl sounded. The giant axe fell to the ground with a loud crash, and the ground caved in due to its shocking weight. The surrounding warriors were all stunned as they watched the battle in horror. However, this was clearly not the end. Xiao! Xiao! 2 small stones with a faint orange glow shot out like lightning again. Pong! A violent explosion sounded. A shocking howl sounded. Mad Bull Changhanshan's knee bone felt as if it was being burned by a raging fire. He lost all feeling in an instant. Pooh! Mad Bull Changhanshan's hands pressed against the ground as if he was kneeling. Heavens! No way! What terrifying strength! Gasps sounded from all around. Everyone looked at Lin Feng in shock, their hearts trembling. To be able to make Mad Bull Changhan's Han lose his ability to fight, what kind of terrifying strength was this? One must know that Mad Bull Changhan's Han was a true 6-star hunter. Lin Feng's gaze coldly glanced at little demon Fox Qianrume, whose beautiful face had already turned pale. Instantly, as if she had seen a ghost, little demon Fox Qianrume screamed and retreated in fear. She was scared out of her wits. Remember, don't behave atrociously in my place. Lin Feng's voice was cold. This is only a small warning. Looking at Mad Bull Changhan's Han, Lin Feng's eyes coldly glanced around, emitting a bright luster. In the Lin family village, no matter who dares to be impudent, I will make them regret it. After speaking, he turned around and left. The surrounding warriors were all aghast, as if they were suffocating. Qinling was slightly dazed, but she reacted quickly and chased after him. Ruanzi was left standing calmly, her eyes emitting a strange light. I wish everyone a happy new year and all your wishes come true. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to Chidian. Come to vote for me. Your support is my biggest motivation. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.